In full view of everyone, Lin Moyu climbed onto the altar and walked towards the fishbone step by step. The strong wind roared around him, but it did not hurt him at all. Is this Dao Feng? It's really strong. Lin Moyu could feel that the wind contained terrifying power. This power comes from the Tao, and is the power of the Tao inspired by the Taoist. Faintly, in the strong wind in the sky, there seemed to be an avenue emerging. High-level Tianzuan can't stop these Taoist winds at all. Lin Moyu knew very well why he could ignore Daofeng's attack. I also know that the Taoist priest who created this altar has died. Before, he dropped the blood essence into the altar. The blood essence contained his soul. In fact, this was a refining process. Among the methods of refining magic weapons, there is a method called the method of identifying the master by dripping blood. This method has many limitations. The stronger the magic weapon, the more blood essence is required. Unintentionally, Lin Moyu 340 regarded the altar as a magic weapon and used his own essence and blood to complete the preliminary refining. Although he cannot control the altar yet, he cannot be attacked by the altar. So Lin Moyu stepped into the altar unscathed and faced the fish bones. The fish bones are like swords and look extremely sharp. The wind hit it and made a thumping sound. Just as Lin Moyu was about to approach the fish bones, suddenly a bolt of thunder struck in the air, and at the same time the sound of dragon roars echoed throughout the soul world. The dragon clan actually launched an attack on him. Lin Moyu was not surprised. Although the dragon clan was fighting with the Zerg clan to the death, they were always paying attention to the altar. No one had been able to get to the altar before, and they were not in a hurry. But now, when he arrived at the altar and was about to get the fish bones, they would naturally take action. There are countless secret techniques in the dragon clan, and they can attack themselves even if they are not on the altar. Lin Moyu naturally couldn't defeat those Tianzuan realm divine dragons, but if they were just attacking from a distance, Mou was not afraid. The thunder struck down and was weakened layer by Dao Feng. When it finally fell on Lin Moyu, there was not much power left, which was equivalent to that of a low-level Tianzuan. Lin Moyu took it calmly, and all the damage was shared by the undead army, leaving him unscathed. The dragon was stunned for a moment and let out bursts of dragon roars. One of the high-level divine dragons took out a magic weapon that looked like cotton. The magic weapon was shrouded in thunder and lightning, making crackling noises. The next second, the magic weapon flew to the top of Lin Moyu's head, carrying Dao Feng, and turned into a thundercloud, with a divine dragon flashing in the thundercloud. Thunderclouds appear in the wind, but are not blown away. They are extremely powerful. Obviously, everyone can see that this magic weapon is also a Taoist realm magic weapon. Only a Taoist realm magic weapon can withstand the Taoism. He's finished. The Dragon Clan's wealth is no worse than that of the Lufeng Chamber of Commerce, and it's reasonable to have a Taoist realm magic weapon. With the magic weapon of Dao Zun, even if this guy can ignore the altar, he can't avoid the Dragon Clan's political regulations. The boy who doesn't know the heights of heaven and earth is doomed now. All the deities looked at Lin Moyu as if they were watching a joke. At this moment, no one except Lu Fengyao wanted Lin Moyu to live. Lu Fengyao also became extremely nervous at this moment. 1 second she was thinking about how to increase the bargaining chip to win over Lin Moyu, but the next moment Lin Moyu was about to die. But now she has no choice. Although she has many magic weapons, none of them seem to be able to save Lin Moyu. There were roars, and thunder fell like raindrops, hitting Lin Moyu. The thunder was too fast and locked onto Lin Moyu, making it impossible to avoid. Lin Moyu tried to enter another level of time and space, but faced the attack of the Taoist realm magic weapon. His power of time and space was too weak. Dao Feng can weaken thunder attacks, and each attack is only equivalent to that of a low-level Tianzuan, but if there are too many, it will still be inaccurate. Lin Moyu's heart moved, and the 10-color dragon soul crystal emitted a loud dragon roar. The dragon roar spread out to the soul world and resounded throughout the world. At the same time, Lin Moyu had an aura unique to the Dragon Clan. In an instant, the venue became silent, and everyone felt that even the sound of the wind was much quieter. Yu Tianzuan couldn't believe it. How could he have the aura of the dragon clan? A very pure dragon aura, no different from a divine dragon. The human race has such a pure dragon aura. Could it be that he has a dragon soul crystal? If you obtain the dragon soul crystal, you will be recognized by the dragon clan. No one in the dragon clan can attack the owner of the dragon soul crystal without taking the initiative. Sure enough, the moment Lin Moyu revealed his dragon soul crystal aura, the thundercloud above his head disappeared. The dragon's voice sounded, "You have the dragon soul crystal, and you are recognized by our dragon clan." The implication is that they will not take action again. Lin Moyu was relieved. He didn't want to take action with the dragon clan. Even if he wanted to take action, it wouldn't be now. Now, relying on the dragon soul crystal, this conflict can be avoided, which is naturally a happy thing for everyone. "Thank you, Senior." Lin Moyu responded loudly. Lu Fengmiao was overjoyed. There is actually a dragon soul crystal that can be recognized by the dragon clan. It seems that we will further increase the stakes. Shenlong controls the thunder cloud magic weapon, and it unfolds among the Chinese clan. Thunders fell one after another. Outside the altar, there was no wind to disturb them, and the thunder was extremely powerful. The Zerg also used their trump card. They sprayed out a large number of the most peculiar bugs and flew towards the thundercloud. These bugs have extremely strong defenses and can carry the thunder into thunderclouds before exploding. The thundercloud was constantly vibrating and shaking, and its power was greatly reduced. The two clans have been fighting for countless years, and they are very clear about each other's methods, and they all have ways to deal with them. Even if they restrain each other for a while, it is still difficult to determine the winner. Lin Moyu, accompanied by the whistling wind, Lin Moyu came to the fish bones and reached out to hold the fish bones. He tried to pull out the fish bone, but he couldn't pull it out at all. The fish bone was now integrated with the entire altar, making it difficult to shake. Let alone him, even if those high-level deities come, they cannot move the fish bones. Lin Moyu was thinking, recalling the scenes he had seen before. He knew the entire process of forming the altar, and also knew what each of the 10 lines on the altar looked like. After a while, Lin Moyu had the answer. If you want to obtain fish bones, you must control the entire altar. If you want to control the altar, you must refine it. When it was first designed, it was actually equivalent to a magic weapon that could be refined. However, with my own level of strength, it is extremely difficult to completely refine it. The only solution now is to try it once. What is the purpose of this altar? Why did the Taoist monk build such an altar? It's a pity that the Taoist master is dead. I can only find the answer by myself. Lin Moyu scratched the fish bone with his palm, making a cut. He held the fish bone, and the essence and blood poured out like money. 4.0 passed through the fish bone and poured into the entire altar. After losing a large amount of essence and blood in a short period of time, Lin Moyu's breath weakened sharply and his soul became sluggish. The essence and blood contain Lin Moyu's power, laws, soul, etc. The most important thing among them is the soul. Every drop of blood essence is equivalent to dividing a small piece of the soul. If the amount is too large, the soul will collapse. What is this kid going to do? Is he going to commit suicide? How is it possible to commit suicide? Could it be that there is something wrong with the fish bones? It's not impossible. What if it's the fish bones that are sucking the life out of him? The gods looked at Lin Moyu's abnormal state and thought of another possibility. Lin Moyu's condition is so bad now that he looks like a dead man. Lu Fengmiao began to worry again. She was happy for Lin Moyu just now, but now she is suddenly like this again. Lu Fengmiao gritted her teeth. What on earth are you doing? As a large amount of blood essence is absorbed by the fish bones and then introduced into the altar through the fish bones, the connection between Lin Moyu and the altar is rapidly strengthening. But refining it is not that simple. At most, it is only half completed. All the essence and blood have been exhausted, and Lin Moyu is haggard and on the verge of death. However, Lin Moyu is in a good mood at the moment. He has confirmed that his method is indeed effective. It doesn't matter if the essence and blood in one round are not enough, you can come to the second round. After sending all the essence and blood into the fish bones, Lin Moyu died on the spot in full view of the public. There was no breath for a moment, and Lin Moyu's breath disappeared. The deities were stunned. Really dead? He was sucked out of his life by the fish bones. It's so funny. It's such a big joke. I thought he was a genius, but he ended up dying. It's so frustrating. It's really funny that you human genius was killed by yourself. Lu Fengyao was also stunned on the spot. He really died like that? No. It doesn't look like you were short-lived. Why did you die like this? While they were discussing, Lin Moyu's body suddenly pulsed with purple light. Lin Moyu, who had died before, suddenly came back to life and became intact in an instant. Hey, he's alive again. What's going on? He's obviously dead. Why is he alive again? Is 19 some kind of secret technique of suspended animation? Lin Moyu's sudden resurrection surprised everyone. Lu Fengyao also showed surprise. I knew you wouldn't die so easily. Lin Moyu gave her the feeling that she always had a plan in mind, and no matter what she did, she had her own rhythm. She had seen this kind of people before, namely several Dao Zun realm elders in the Chamber of Commerce. This is why I look up to Lin Moyu. Now, Lin Moyu has not let him down. Lu Fengyao believes that as long as Lin Moyu does not die, he will become a Taoist master in the future. This kind of person naturally wants to invest while she is still in her prime. The earlier she invests, the greater her future gains may be. In the short period of time that Lu Fengyao was thinking, Lin Moyu started his performance again. His posture was exactly the same as before, his whole body became haggard again, and his breath declined sharply. Judging from his appearance, he was not far from death. Seeing this, Lu Fengyao couldn't help but sweat for Lin Moyu. She really couldn't figure out what Lin Moyu was doing. Those heavenly beings were even more puzzled and asked with doubts, what on earth is going on with him? What else could it be? It must have been sucked dry, and then resurrected through a secret method, and lived a second life. Although he's alive, he hasn't been able to get rid of the fish bones. He still has to be sucked dry. If you can't get rid of the fish bones, what's the use of resurrecting it a few times? Sooner or later you will die. Some deities thought they had seen through the truth, and they all had sneers on their faces, waiting for Lin Moyu to die. What Lin Moyu did before was almost a slap in their face. They were heavenly lords, and they were actually compared to one of the supreme lords, asking them to put their faces wherever they could. Under everyone's watch, Lin Moyu died again. People are like dead trees, their breath disappears. But this time, no Tianzuan spoke. 2 seconds later, with a burst of purple light, Lin Moyu was resurrected again. After the resurrection, Lin Moyu still kept the same movements, and his aura weakened again. It seems that he still hasn't gotten rid of the fish bones, and he still can't escape the fate of being sucked into human beings. Tianzuan sneered and said, "It's useless. No matter how many times you are resurrected, it won't matter. You deserve to die, not to die. The Supreme is the Supreme. Facing the Tao pattern, there is no resistance. If you don't have a chance, just wait quietly for death." The deities are basically certain that Lin Moyu will die sooner or later, and there is no way he will survive. After all, there are Tao patterns on the fish bones, and they are not ordinary Tao patterns. Even heavenly lords like them are nothing in front of Tao patterns, let alone a supreme being. Just as they were guessing, a strong wind blew up, and the knocking sound became more intense than ever before, like thunder that kept ringing in their ears. The altar began to shake violently, and the expressions of the heavenly lords changed greatly. What happened? Is the altar going to collapse? What on earth did this kid do, and why did he do this? The deities kept exclaiming, but they did not dare to fly away. The Tao wind in the sky is deadly. They are surging with laws one by one, protecting themselves and watching the changes. Amidst the rapid knocking sound, the strong wind rushed towards the fish bones at an alarming speed. The wind rolled up the clouds in the sky, turned into a tornado, and poured into the fish bones. Countless complex Tao patterns appeared on the entire altar. The Tao patterns and fish bones were connected into one, and the entire altar was activated. The terrifying Taoist realm aura rushed out from the altar, stirring and spreading in the air. The aura of the Taoist master made it difficult for the heavenly masters to breathe. The strong wind roared, completely covering the location of the fish bones, and Lin Moyu disappeared from everyone's eyes. Immediately afterwards, with a roar, the altar exploded. Screams rang out, and terrifying power surged in, impacting every heavenly lord. The power of Daowen was so powerful, carrying soul impact, that several Tianzins had no time to react before they were seriously injured and lost consciousness on the spot. All their defenses were useless under the impact of Daowen. Even Lu Fengyao, who was using jade beads for protection, groaned and was slightly shocked. This was just the beginning, and then another terrifying force swept from the sky. It was as if a Taoist priest had personally taken a picture of it from the air, and it was photographed on everyone's world of rules, reaching straight into the soul. Everyone, including Shenlong, lost consciousness at the same time and fell into a coma. The forest exploded, and all the creatures in the forest exploded and died one by one. Blood spilled down the mountains and forests, and the mountains and forests collapsed. Not only the mountains and forests, but also the giant pythons on the distant grasslands exploded, and no one was spared. Then the terrifying power swept into the ocean, and the creatures in the ocean exploded one after another. Mountains and forests are collapsing, the earth is cracking, and huge gaps appear under the ocean. Everything is sinking, and the world is collapsing. 940 Only Lin Moyu is still awake in the strong wind, holding the fish bone in his hand. When he saw this scene, he was extremely horrified. He had completely refined the altar just now, but he didn't expect that the altar would explode on the spot. What happened next was completely beyond his expectations and completely out of his control. The altar exploded, the mountains and forests collapsed, and then the entire grassland, land, and ocean collapsed. All Tianzuan lost consciousness and fell together with the collapse. Lin Moyu's mouth twitched. What the hell is this? Suddenly he raised his head, and countless cracks appeared in the sky. Then the water from the boundary sea rushed down from the cracks, forming countless waterfalls. The cracks rapidly intensified, and countless rocks rolled down along with the water of the boundary sea. The sky is falling. Lin Moyu whispered in his heart, feeling helpless. It is often said that when the sky falls, the tallest person is the one who is holding it up, but as a result, none of the deities are reliable, and now he has become the tallest person. He's going to push it? What should he push it with? Let's squirt. Lin Moyu held the fish bone and flew downwards like he was desperate. No matter where the sky and the earth collapsed, he could only follow it. Along with the collapse of the earth, Lin Moyu rushed into the ocean and quickly passed through the bottom of the ocean. He didn't know how long he flew, but Lin Moyu felt as if he had passed through a world barrier, and his vision suddenly became clear. He found that he had entered a world composed of pure ocean. If he didn't know where he was, he almost thought that he had entered the boundary sea. The world in front of us, no matter from which angle we look at it or feel it, is the same as the boundary sea. Lin Moyu could hardly see a trace of man-made traces. If his memory hadn't been correct, he would have thought that he had returned to the boundary sea. The answer to the fishbone altar should be here. Lin Moyu thought to himself and took out the Jiahai Ling and took a look at it. The Jiahai order is still in a sealed state, which means that he cannot leave here through the Jiahai order. If you are like this, others must be like this too. The Jiahai order is no longer working. If you want to leave, you must find another way, otherwise you will be trapped here forever. Moreover, it is hard to say whether there is any danger in this world. With a thought in his heart, he sent a large number of skeleton god generals flying in all directions. Now that things have happened, he can no longer be conservative. There is only one way in front of him, to explore and find the answer. He believed that the king of Boundary Sea asked them to come here, and he would definitely not let them come to die. The king of Realm Sea must know something about the secrets of this special space, but he just didn't tell them. It is certain that yes, the king of Boundary Sea really wants to get fish bones, and the more the better. Especially the sword-shaped fish bone in his hand, one piece can hold up several pieces. In this case, I will definitely have a way to return, otherwise it will be meaningless. Lin Moyu believed in his own judgment. He believed that as long as he found the answer, he would definitely be able to leave. If it cannot be found, the result will be difficult to say. The king of Boundary Sea is aloof and doesn't care about the lives of these people. In the eyes of the king of Boundary Sea, maybe all the people put together are worth less than a fish bone. After searching for a while, the skeleton god made some discoveries, and Lin Moyu rushed over immediately. Lu Fengmiao was in the vast ocean, rising and falling with the water of the Boundary Sea. At this moment, she was unconscious, and the jade bead protected it, enduring the waves of impact from the Boundary Sea. The skeleton god general discovered her, and Lin Moyu rushed over immediately, scanning her eyes to make sure she was not injured. Lin Moyu used the voice of the soul, and the voice reached directly into Lu Fengmiao's rule world and passed into the soul. Sister Fengmiao, wake up! After 3 consecutive sounds, Lu Fengmiao's eyebrows moved, and there was movement. After a few seconds, Lu Fengmiao slowly opened her eyes and let out a soft groan. His eyes were full of vigilance, but he relaxed after seeing Lin Moyu. How long have I been unconscious? Lu Fengmiao had just woken up and seemed to be still a little weak. Lin Moyu said, less than an hour. Lu Fengmiao slowly flew up and looked around with doubt. Are we back to the Boundary Sea? Lin Moyu said, it's not the Boundary Sea. Lin Moyu talked about the collapse of the previous space, and then Lu Fengmiao realized that everyone in her group had entered another dimension. Lu Fengmiao felt the aura coming from all around, then went into the ocean to feel it, and sighed, if you didn't tell me, I really thought I had returned to the sea of the world. It's almost the same. Lin Moyu said, it is exactly the same, but this is not the Boundary Sea. The same environment creates a strong illusion for people, making it difficult to distinguish between true and false. Lu Fengmiao suddenly asked, how did you find me? Lin Moyu smiled and said, good luck, I found it by accident. Lu Fengmiao looked weird. She didn't believe it was good luck. She knew that Lin Moyu must have some tricks that she didn't know about. She looked at the sword-shaped fish bone in Lin Moyu's hand and said, it must be the fish bone on the altar. Lin Moyu nodded, yes, it was thanks to it that I was able to survive the landslide just now. I think I also need it if I want to solve the mystery here. Lu Fengmiao said, this fish bone is very extraordinary. It is much stronger than the one you gave me. You must be careful when holding it. Those guys may take advantage of Kai. Lin Moyu didn't care at all. Sister Fengmiao is here. I'm not afraid at all. Lu Fengmiao rolled her eyes at him. There is no need to flatter him. Lin Moyu smiled. He was not lying. There were so many Tianzins who fell down. Why was Lu Fengmiao the first one to find them? This is nothing but good luck. Lu Fengmiao asked, I wonder where those guys went. Lin Moyu shook his head. Not yet. Before he finished speaking, Moyu suddenly turned around and looked into the distance. Lu Fengmiao asked strangely, what's wrong? Lin Moyu said, you have made some discoveries, come with me. As he spoke, he flew forward, and Lu Fengmiao followed curiously. There is no Daofeng here, and there is nothing except the vast ocean that is exactly the same as the Boundary Sea. Lin Moyu had seen it with the eyes of the undead before, but he didn't see the soul fire. There were no other creatures in this world. He sent more than 1,000,000 skeleton generals to explore in all directions, and they were completely dispersed at this moment. The fallen Tianzuan was scattered in all directions, and no one knew where he went. Except for Lu Fengmiao, who was lucky enough to meet him, no one else was found. It can be inferred from this that after the altar collapsed, everyone dispersed and dispersed far away. Whether those people are dead or alive is unknown. Lu Fengyao followed Lin Moyu and asked curiously, "What did you find?" Lin Moyu said, "A fish." "A fish?" Lu Fengyao expressed confusion, but she soon knew that it was really a fish. An indescribable giant fish, like a continent, drifting slowly in the ocean. This fish is so big that it can be seen from a long distance. Lin Moyu swore that this was the largest fish he had ever seen, much bigger than the general whale he had seen before. It looks like a whale, but is covered with thick fish scales. Each scale is like an island. As the waves rise, the scales constantly shake, stirring up waves. Even the well-informed Lu Fengyao also looked shocked. How could there be such a big fish? Lin Moyu said, "I have never seen such a big fish. The size of the Boundary Sea cannot be compared with that of the big world. The supreme being in the big world can become infinitely large, even reaching dozens of light years. That is because the laws in the big world have no limit on body size. But in the world of Boundary Sea, there will be many restrictions." Lin Moyu once tried it. With all his strength, his body was only 10,000 meters tall. According to Shueji Tianzuan, only the Tianzuan realm can exceed 10,000 meters, the upper limit is 1 million meters, and the Daozun realm can exceed 1 million meters. The fish in front of me is not only 1,000,000 meters long, but also hundreds of millions meters long. The two of them were far apart, so they could barely see the outline of the fish. If you get closer, you won't be able to see clearly at all. Lin Moyu asked, "If the realm is determined by body shape, what realm should this fish be?" Lu Fengyao thought for a while. "There is Daozun above 1 million meters, but I don't know the upper limit of Daozun's size." Now the two of them are sure that this is a Daozun realm fish. Lin Moyu frowned. He saw through the eyes of the undead that this fish was not a living thing. Lin Moyu whispered, "It seems to be dead." Lu Fengyao hummed, "It's true that I didn't feel the breath of life, but I can't rule out that it might be sleeping." Lu Fengyao didn't have the eye of the undead and couldn't see the soul directly, so he made this guess. Lin Moyu knew that the big fish was dead. Suddenly, the scales on the big fish began to shine, and a stripe appeared. The big fish's mouth slowly opened and made a dull sound. In an instant, countless waters of the world sea surged in. The sudden movement surprised the two of them. Just now, the two of them agreed that the big fish was dead. But now, he suddenly started to move. The fish opened its mouth and let out a low cry, and at the same time, the water of the infinite sea poured into the giant-mouthed minister. Lin Moyu and Lu Fengyao looked at each other, and they could see the surprise in each other's eyes. Lu Fengyao whispered, "It's obviously dead." Lin Moyu was more sure than Lu Fengyao that this big fish was indeed dead. But what is going on with the situation in front of us? Lin Moyu whispered, "It must be dead, and its current movements should be related to the Dao patterns on the fish scales." Lu Fengyao said, "You mean, Dao One is controlling it?" Lin Moyu said, "It is not certain whether Dao One controls it, but it is definitely related." Lu Fengyao observed carefully. Although she didn't understand Dao patterns, she could tell something about it and found that Lin Moyu was right. Lu Fengyao was a little confused. "Do you know Dao patterns?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "I don't understand, it's just a feeling." Lu Fengyao was speechless for a moment. It was because of his family inheritance, contact with the Taoist patterns, and his own realm that he could see some clues. And Lin Moyu, who has no background and inheritance, and whose realm is only at the pinnacle, can actually see it. Lu Fengyao couldn't help but think, is this talent? More and more boundary seawater was swallowed by the big fish, forming a terrifying whirlpool. The vortex became stronger and stronger, and more boundary seawater came over. After a moment, the countless fish scales on the back of the big fish suddenly unfolded, and the water of the boundary sea spurted out. The water from the boundary sea that entered the fish's mouth turned around in a huge body and returned again. Lu Fengyao asked curiously, "What on earth is it doing?" Lin Moyu said in a deep voice, "It is refining the world seawater. The world seawater it swallowed has been refined and the power in it is gone when it is sprayed out." Boundary sea water is different from ordinary water. It contains powerful power. Anyone who enters the boundary sea will bear the impact of the boundary sea water. The boundary sea treats everyone equally. Even the creatures living in the boundary sea cannot avoid it. This also resulted in that in the boundary sea below 500,000 meters, only creatures in the heavenly realm could survive. The deeper the boundary sea is, the stronger the power contained in the boundary sea is. It is precisely because of the existence of the boundary sea water that the creatures in the boundary sea can give birth to origin crystals. These origin powers come from the boundary sea water. But now, the big fish has refined the boundary sea water and extracted the power from the boundary sea water. Those forces contain a lot of original power, and they are all refined by it. But why does a dead big fish need to refine the world sea water? What's the significance to it? At this time, Lin Moyu suddenly saw a high-level demon clan floating along the sea water. He was obviously still in a coma, and was swallowed by the big fish together with the sea water. Lin Moyu saw clearly that the eyes of the undead saw the fire of the other party's soul, which entered the big fish's mouth and then quickly extinguished. The demon clan Tianzuan died. After being swallowed by the big fish, he died silently. Lu Fengmiao also saw this scene. Although she did not have the eyes of the undead, she still knew what happened with her Tianzuan level induction. Lu Fengmiao's eyes became solemn. A high-level heavenly lord died like this. If it were him, I'm afraid the end wouldn't be much better. Even if he had the magic weapon of Daozun realm, Lu Fengmiao had no confidence that he could survive. Lu Fengmiao felt the fatal threat and whispered, "What should we do?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "Don't worry, let's take a look again." He wanted to wait for the skeleton god general to explore this space thoroughly to see if there was anything else besides the big fish. Lu Fengmiao had no choice but to listen to Lin Moyu and wait quietly. 3 hours later, the lines on the big fish gradually dimmed as the fish's mouth also slowly closed. After a while, the scales on its back closed, and the big fish became silent again. Everything returned to calm, as if nothing had happened before. For 3 hours, Lin Moyu has been studying Dao 1. Lin Moyu discovered that although Dao patterns are different from runes and are more complex than runes, they still have some similarities with runes. Dao patterns seems to be an upgraded version of runes, a more advanced existence. Combining the Dao patterns on the big fish with the runes he mastered, Lin Moyu came up with an incredible guess. But this is just a guess, not certain. Now that the Dao pattern has converged and the big fish has stopped moving, Lin Moyu whispered, "I'll go over and take a look." Lu Fengmiao frowned. "What are you looking at?" "Dao pattern." After saying that, Lin Moyu had already flown over, and Lu Fengmiao followed after hesitating for a few seconds. A ray of light flew out from Lu Fengmiao and landed on Lin Moyu. Lu Fengmiao expanded the protective scope of Yuzhu to cover the two of them. Lin Moyu smiled slightly. "Thank you, Sister Fengmiao." Lu Fengmiao asked, "Can you understand Dao patterns?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "I can't understand it, but I feel that it is somewhat similar to the runes. Maybe I can find something out." Lu Fengmiao looked surprised. "Do you know runes?" Lin Moyu nodded and understood. Lu Fengmiao looked at Lin Moyu as if he were a monster. "You have only practiced for 2,000 years, and you can even understand runes. I really don't know how you practice." Lin Moyu was very modest. "It's just a little understanding, it's nothing." Lu Fengmiao didn't believe Lin Moyu's words at all. From the look of this guy, he didn't seem to understand anything. The two of them got close to the big fish and saw the Dao patterns engraved on the fish scales. The Dao patterns on fish scales are different from the Dao patterns on fish bones. The Dao patterns on the fish bones are as if they were made in nature, creating a seamless feeling. The Dao patterns on the fish scales in front of me seemed to have been engraved on them by someone, but there was no such feeling. Lin Moyu only took one look and was sure that someone had carved Dao patterns on the fish scales. He immediately thought of the person who built the altar. The Dao patterns on the fish scales and the Dao patterns on the altar are strikingly similar, and they should have been made by one person. Recalling the previous scenes, Lin Moyu carefully recalled everything that happened after he entered this special space, not missing any detail. Things gradually started to unfold, and finally, he got a very possible answer. Lin Moyu whispered to himself, he wants to resurrect the big fish. Lu Fengyao didn't hear clearly. What did you say? Lin Moyu whispered, I speculate that all the arrangements here are to resurrect this big fish. Lu Fengyao was shocked. Resurrect it? How is this possible? He is obviously dead. Lin Moyu said, nothing is impossible. Maybe Dao Zun has this ability. Changing one's fate against the will of heaven and coming back from the dead was like a fantasy in Lu Fengyao's mind. But Lin Moyu, who has the ability to resurrect the dead, feels that it is not impossible. Lu Fengyao still didn't believe it. Did you see it wrong? Lin Moyu said, it's hard to say. I just said it is possible. But this is not important. What is important is how we can find a way out of here. If it is true as I guessed, Dao Zun arranged all this, it actually has nothing to do with us. That is something that Dao Zun should be concerned about. Lu Fengyao hummed, then let's leave it alone and find a way out. Lin Moyu nodded slightly. Dao Zun's arrangements were indeed beyond his control. Boom! The sky suddenly exploded, and a black shadow swooped down from the sky. His ears were filled with sharp screams, and then the sharp screams resounded through his soul. Lu Fengyao's pretty face changed suddenly. Clan. The sudden appearance of the Zerg not only surprised Lu Fengyao, but also Lin Moyu. He scanned it with his eyes of the undead and found no living beings. I didn't expect that the Zerg race could hide from the eyes of the undead. This race is really weird. In the black clouds, there are countless insects that are so densely packed that they are hard to count. There are 3 insect mothers who came here, including 1 high-level heavenly lord and 2 mid-level heavenly lords. A high-level heavenly insect mother can produce countless high-level supreme insects. The insect mother of the intermediate heavenly lord can produce the insects of the supreme lord. These insects combine with each other to form a formation, and the realm can be improved by 1 or 2 small realms. In addition, the insect mother can also create some special insects. With mutual cooperation, the Zerg's combat power is enough to compete with the dragons of the same realm. If a human race encounters an insect mother of the same realm, unless it has an extremely powerful magic weapon, it is generally not an opponent at all. Even Lu Fengyao felt a headache when she encountered the Zerg in the same realm. The Zerg gave her a feeling that she could not kill them all no matter how hard she tried. Countless insects were rushing towards me in a dense manner, and the number was so large that it was difficult to count. From the perspective of strength, they are just mid-level supremes and high-level supremes, nothing like that. It's just that there are too many, so many that it makes one's scalp numb. Moreover, the insect mother can also produce a continuous stream, and it is impossible to kill them all. At this time, the 3 insect mothers screamed at the same time, and they created some extremely special insects. These bugs exploded and turned into invisible force that enveloped the insect swarm. Immediately afterwards, the power of all the bugs increased. Intermediate supremes become high-level supremes, and high-level supremes become peak supremes. Lu Fengyao's expression changed. She held the Taoist realm sword in her hand and whispered, I'll take you to break out of the encirclement. The first thing she thought of was to break out of the encirclement, not to kill the insect mother. She knew very well that it was difficult to kill the Zerg. Even if she had a Taoist realm magic weapon, it would not be easy to kill them. But if you want to break through, it's not difficult. The insect mother is powerful, but the insect swarm is not powerful, and the supreme realm cannot stop her. Lin Moyu was calm and composed. No, I'll deal with them. With a tap of his finger, endless mist suddenly rose up in the sky. In an instant, the bone hell appeared, covering a large space and directly engulfing the Zerg. In the hell of bones, the vicious spirits of hell rushed out towards the group. The evil spirits from hell don't care what you are. They will bite you when you open their mouths. The fire of hell spurted out, and the scorching sun from all directions shed endless flames. The eyes of the undead stared at them, carrying a terrifying soul impact. The insects suddenly screamed, and each of them paused on the spot, their ears weakening sharply. The previous increase was wiped out by the eyes of the undead. The other side of the flower bloomed, and the insects were further weakened. Both their speed and strength were greatly reduced. Although the number of bugs is large, there are also many spirits returning to the hell area. There are tens of millions of hellish evil spirits in the bone hell, fighting against the insects. Lin Moyu is not worried about losing in the bone hell. The skeleton hell cannot deal with Tianzuan. In the supreme realm, you are absolutely invincible. No matter how many bugs you have, you will kill as many as you come. Lin Yu was never afraid of being outnumbered. Even if he doesn't use the bone hell, he still has plenty of ways to deal with these bugs. Lu Fengyao was stunned on the spot. Is this your technique? Lin Moyu smiled and said, the technique is not strong, but it is just right for dealing with these bugs. Lu Fengyao was speechless. Isn't this called strong? You are the ultimate supreme being, and this technique is enough to make you walk sideways in the supreme realm. Lin Moyu smiled and said, it is indeed possible, but it's a pity that I can't deal with Tianzuan. Lu Fengyao said, just be content, it's enough. Let's take advantage of this opportunity and let's go. Lin Moyu asked strangely, why are you leaving? Why don't we kill these 3 insect mothers? Lu Fengyao couldn't believe it. Are you crazy? You want to kill the insect mother? Why not? If they can come and kill me, why can't I kill them? Lu Fengyao's words made Lin Moyu feel strange. It seemed that she had never thought about killing the insect mother from beginning to end. Is there any special reason for this? Lu Fengyao said, it's not that it can't be killed, it's that it's too difficult to kill. What you see is only the first form of the insect mother. They also have a second form and an ultimate form. In their first form, they just made bugs and were not very powerful themselves. The second form of the insect mother, also known as the fighting form, has the strength to compete head-on with the dragons of the same realm. As for the ultimate form of the insect mother, its combat power will reach its limit. Legend has it that a peak-level insect mother severely injured a demon Taoist in its ultimate form. Lin Moyu finally understood why Lu Fengyao never thought of killing the insect mother. It looked like it was really difficult to kill. However, he is very interested in the insect mother. If he can turn the insect mother into a resurrector and then into its ultimate form, I am afraid that instead of severely injuring the Taoist master, he can reversely kill the Taoist master. What's more, Yuanqing will not self-destruct before death. And whether the bugs created by the insect mother can also self-destruct. Please give me flowers. That scene is exciting just thinking about it. Seeing that Lin Moyu had no intention of leaving, Lu Fengyao asked, what do you want to do? Lin Moyu said, I want to try to see if I can kill them. Lu Fengyao chilled, don't think about it. If that high-level insect mother unfolds its ultimate form, even I can only protect myself. Lin Moyu said, then don't let him develop his final form. Can you deal with the 2 mid-level celestial insect mothers? Lu Fengyao looked at Lin Moyu as if he were a madman. But under Lin Moyu's firm gaze, she still said, it's not easy to kill them, but it's not difficult to hold them back. Lin Moyu said, okay, I'll leave these 2 to you, and I'll deal with the high-level Tianzuan. After saying that, Lin Moyu flew straight towards the insect mother. Lu Fengyao gave a shout and found that Lin Moyu didn't listen to her at all. Oh! In desperation, she stamped her foot and immediately chased after him. She thought in her heart, forget it, just go crazy with him and let him recognize the reality. If it doesn't work, just take him to break out. It should be fine. Lu Fengyao is confident in his own strength. Even if he cannot defeat the insect mother in its ultimate form, self-preservation is not a problem, and it is not a problem to break out with Lin Moyu. Seeing the 2 men rushing towards them, the 3 insect mothers immediately screamed and they created more insects. There is an upper limit on the total number of bugs. After a batch was killed by the bone hell, they created a new batch. Lin Moyu's heart moved, and the Hell of Bones instantly expanded in scope, overwhelming the sky and covering all the electrons, including Yomu. The evil spirits from Hell pounced on the insect mother, who screamed wildly, and a large number of insects rushed out of them. Unfortunately, facing the bone hell, the bugs created by the mother bug were obviously no match. The screams of the insect mothers suddenly changed and became louder, and at the same time their bodies began to deform. The originally nest-like body suddenly grew dense scales, and then grew 4 pairs of sharp legs. Each pair was extremely sharp, exuding a sharp aura, and countless cracks were cut between the sky and the earth. At this moment, the insect mother's whole body was glowing with metallic light, her appearance changed from bloated to sharp, and she looked a bit like a praying mantis. While the insect mother transformed, the bugs they created returned collectively and merged with their respective free mothers. Lu Fengyao whispered, "This is their second form, also called the fighting form. You have to be careful." Lin Moyu nodded, "Proceed as planned." Lu Fengyao snorted, "You are such a crazy person." Lu Fengyao's words made Lin Moyu slightly startled. Lin Moyu thought of Antares, who once said the same about himself. The corners of his mouth were raised, showing a hearty smile. "No one has said that to me for a long time, it's great. Then please trouble Sister Fengyao and accompany me to go crazy once." Lu Fengyao snorted and said no more. Her fighting spirit rose, and she had already locked onto 2 mid-level celestial insect mothers. The 3 insect mothers unfolded their second form and started attacking at the same time. The terrifying power swept through the world and instantly tore apart the Hell of Bones. Sharp energy raged across the sky and earth, cutting countless cracks. The way of cultivation of the Zerg is different. They have no rules world, but they have a strong combat experience. The way of strengthening the Zerg race is contrary to other races in the original continent. Some people have studied the Zerg, but in the end they did not get a clear answer. The Hell of Bones was torn into pieces. It completed its mission and marked the 3 mothers. "Do it!" 907-inch Lin Moyu shouted softly. Lu Fengyao didn't hesitate at all and immediately killed the 2 insect mothers he had locked onto. The sword in his hand swung out the majestic sword energy, sweeping the world. The insect mother kept screaming, waving her sword sharply, and collided with Lu Fengyao's sword energy. Lu Fengyao's sword is a Taoist realm magic weapon with unparalleled power. It's just that her own cultivation is not enough to exert the full power of the Taoist realm magic weapon, and she is only slightly stronger than the high-level Tianzuan. Even after beating 2 mid-level celestial insect mothers, they still managed to kill them. The 2 insect mothers were chopped off after a head-on collision, with numerous wounds appearing on their hard bodies. Boom! An explosion suddenly sounded, the high-level Tianzuan insect mother screamed, and its body suddenly exploded. Then there was one explosion after another, 4 explosions in a row, one after another. The insect mother of the high-level Tianzuan was blown to pieces and died on the spot. Lu Fengyao looked at Lin Moyu in shock. What happened? The high-level insect mother was killed instantly. She had no idea what kind of magic Lin Moyu used and how it could have such terrifying lethality. Lin Moyu stretched out his hand and the body of the high-level insect mother flew to his hand and was taken away directly by him. Lin Moyu smiled, as he expected. No matter how strong the insect mother was, she was still a high-level heavenly being. He used Osprey and Giant Python, both high-level heavenly lords, as materials, and used their corpses to explode. Even the high-level insect mother could not stop them. No matter how strong your vitality is, if you are bombed 4 times in a row, you will definitely die. If it were Cheng Hongguang, it would only take 1 blast to kill the insect mother. The vitality of the insect mother is already strong enough. In fact, Lin Moyu thinks that 3 bombings are enough, and the 4th time is just for insurance. Lu Fengyao looked at Lin Moyu. How did you do it? Lin Moyu smiled and said, "This is also my technique. Let's fight first." The fight is not over yet. Only then did Lu Fengyao realize that she was still fighting and was just shocked by Lin Moyu's behavior. Lin Moyu's strength was really hard for him to understand. He couldn't understand how Lin Moyu did it. What kind of magic technique can allow a peak supreme person to kill a high-level deity? Across one large realm, plus 3 smaller realms. What's more, the one who was killed was not the Middle Mother, who was recognized as extremely difficult to kill. Lu Fengyao attacked the 2 insect mothers again. The 2 insect mothers screamed at the same time, the space exploded, and the powerful force shook Lu Fengyao back. They change again and develop their final form. Lin Moyu's eyes were full of curiosity. He wanted to see what the insect mother's ultimate form looked like and whether it was really as strong as Pei Fengyao said. The 2 insect mothers began to grow in size, from more than 10 meters to 1,000 meters. 1 pair of sharp legs is born, 6 pairs, 10 pairs, 20 pairs. Fully 50 pairs of sharp legs sprouted, fangs and claws dancing in the air. Isn't this a centipede? Lin Moyu thought to himself. The mother insect in its ultimate form looks very much like a centipede. 50 sharp feet were flying in the air, and the interest reached the peak of the middle-level Tianzuan, and was only a hair away from the high-level Tianzuan. Their sharp feet are comparable to Tianzuan realm magic weapons. In this state, the insect mother is definitely capable of hurting high-level Tianzuan. Lu Fengyao gave a sweet shout and fought back again. She swung the Taoist realm sword in her hand and unleashed countless sword energy. The insect mother also used her sharp feet to fight with Lu Fengyao. Their bodies were disproportionate, but Lu Fengyao had the upper hand when she returned to strength. The 2 sides fought fiercely, and there were countless cracks between heaven and earth. It was difficult to tell the winner for a while. Lin Moyu could see clearly that Lu Fengyao relied on the power of the magic weapon and the protection of the jade beads to only attack but not defend, and suppressed the insect mother. But it is not easy to decide the winner. Without this Taoist realm sword and jade bead, Lu Fengyao would have no problem fighting 1 against 1, but he would probably lose most of the time against 2. The fighting power of the Zerg is indeed powerful. No wonder it can compete with the dragon. It seems that if you want to end the battle quickly, you still need to help her. Would it be better to explode the corpse, or let Cheng Hongguang take action? Both methods are acceptable in front of Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu is not in a hurry. Lu Fengyao has already beaten her, so she will wait until she is satisfied. On land and sea. Amidst the shouts, Lu Fengyao suddenly used a spell. The world of rules emerged after Lu Fengyao's death. Her world of rules was a prosperous world. There were countless merchant ships and high-rise buildings in the world, which looked extremely prosperous. In the world of rules, sharp swords rushed out, and thousands of swords flew together in an instant. Thousands of sharp swords penetrate heaven and earth, and nothing can stop them wherever they pass. Whether it is the boundary sea or the origin continent, it can be accessed. The 2 insect mothers were submerged in the sea of swords and screamed. Their huge bodies were penetrated by the sword, and their sharp feet broke under the force of the sword, almost tearing the insect mothers to pieces. This sword is very strong, directly damaging the insect mother. But the next second, countless bugs flew out from the insect mother. These bugs quickly repaired the wounds and repaired the legs at the same time. In the blink of an eye, the mother returned to normal, and even her breath did not weaken. After the insect mother recovered, she quickly attacked Lu Fengyao. They were not afraid of being hurt at all, and they were not afraid of death. The insect mother waved her sharp legs and sprayed out countless dark green liquids at the same time. The liquid exploded in the air, forming thick clouds of fog. The dense fog was highly corrosive, and the jade beads used by Lu Fengyao to protect her body also became weak in the dense fog. Lu Fengyao had to avoid the fog. Tu Jian was a little helpless. Lin Moyu nodded slightly. It has strong recovery power, and this mist is also very corrosive. Lu Fengyao became more and more annoyed with the beating, and she gritted her teeth. It's so difficult. She has always known that the insect mother is difficult to deal with, but this is the first time she has actually fought against her, and she found that it is more difficult than others said. I couldn't help but feel upset when I thought that Lin Muyu easily defeated his opponent, but he couldn't even defeat a weaker opponent. When I was upset, Lin Muyu's voice came from afar. Do you want help? Lu Fengyao snorted, don't look. She took out a scissors magic weapon, threw it into the air, pointed her sword at one of the insect mothers and shouted, 4.8 determine. The scissors shot out a beam of light and wrapped around the insect mother like a rope. The insect mother was immediately immobilized and unable to move. Lu Fengyao shouted again, cut. The scissors instantly enlarged, appeared on the insect mother, and cut it off with one cut. Click! In the crisp sound, the insect mother was cut in two. Not only the body, but also the soul was cut off. Lin Muyu's eyes flashed. This magic weapon alone is very powerful. Lu Fengyao's words made Lin Muyu slightly startled. Lin Muyu thought of Antares, who once said the same about himself. The corners of his mouth were raised, showing a hearty smile. No one has said that to me for a long time. It's great. Then please trouble Sister Fengyao and accompany me to go crazy once. Lu Fengyao snorted and said no more. Her fighting spirit rose, and she had already locked onto two mid-level celestial insect mothers. The three insect mothers unfolded their second form and started attacking at the same time. The terrifying power swept through the world and instantly tore apart the hell of bones. Sharp energy raged across the sky and earth, cutting countless cracks. The way of cultivation of the Zerg is different. They have no rules world, but they have a strong combat experience. The way of strengthening the Zerg race is contrary to other races in the original continent. Some people have studied the Zerg, but in the end they did not get a clear answer. The Hell of Bones was torn into pieces. It completed its mission and marked the three mothers. Do it! 907-inch Lin Muyu shouted softly. Lu Fengyao didn't hesitate at all and immediately killed the two insect mothers he had locked onto. The sword in his hand swung out the majestic sword energy, sweeping the world. The insect mother kept screaming, waving her sword sharply, and collided with Lu Fengyao's sword energy. Lu Fengyao's sword is a Taoist realm magic weapon with unparalleled power. It's just that her own cultivation is not enough to exert the full power of the Taoist realm magic weapon, and she is only slightly stronger than the high-level Tianzuan. Even after beating two mid-level celestial insect mothers, they still managed to kill them. The two insect mothers were chopped off after a head-on collision, with numerous wounds appearing on their hard bodies. Boom! An explosion suddenly sounded, the high-level Tianzuan insect mother screamed, and its body suddenly exploded. Then there was one explosion after another, 4 explosions in a row, one after another. The insect mother of the high-level Tianzuan was blown to pieces and died on the spot. Lu Fengyao looked at Lin Muyu in shock. What happened? The high-level insect mother was killed instantly. She had no idea what kind of magic Lin Muyu used and how it could have such terrifying lethality. Lin Muyu stretched out his hand and the body of the high-level insect mother flew to his hand and was taken away directly by him. Lin Muyu smiled, as he expected. No matter how strong the insect mother was, she was still a high-level heavenly being. He used Osprey and Giant Python, both high-level heavenly lords, as materials, and used their corpses to explode. Even the high-level insect mother could not stop them. No matter how strong your vitality is, if you are bombed 4 times in a row, you will definitely die. If it were Cheng Hongguang, it would only take 1 blast to kill the insect mother. The vitality of the insect mother is already strong enough. In fact, Lin Muyu thinks that 3 bombings are enough, and the 4th time is just for insurance. Lu Fengyao looked at Lin Muyu. How did you do it? Lin Muyu smiled and said, this is also my technique. Let's fight first. The fight is not over yet. Only then did Lu Fengyao realize that she was still fighting and was just shocked by Lin Muyu's behavior. Lin Muyu's strength was really hard for him to understand. He couldn't understand how Lin Muyu did it. What kind of magic technique can allow a peak supreme person to kill a high-level deity? Across one large realm, plus 3 smaller realms. What's more, the one who was killed was not the Middle Mother, who was recognized as extremely difficult to kill. Lu Fengyao attacked the 2 insect mothers again. The 2 insect mothers screamed at the same time, the space exploded, and the powerful force shook Lu Fengyao back. They changed again and developed their final form. Lin Moyu's eyes were full of curiosity. He wanted to see what the insect mother's ultimate form looked like and whether it was really as strong as Pei Fengyao said. The 2 insect mothers began to grow in size, from more than 10 meters to 1,000 meters. 1 pair of sharp legs is born, 6 pairs, 10 pairs, 20 pairs. Fully 50 pairs of sharp legs sprouted, fangs and claws dancing in the air. Isn't this a centipede? Lin Moyu thought to himself. The mother insect in its ultimate form looks very much like a centipede. 50 sharp feet were flying in the air, and the interest reached the peak of the middle-level Tianzuan, and was only a hair away from the high-level Tianzuan. Their sharp feet are comparable to Tianzuan realm magic weapons. In this state, the insect mother is definitely capable of hurting high-level Tianzuan. Lu Fengyao gave a sweet shout and fought back again. She swung the Taoist realm sword in her hand and unleashed countless sword energy. The insect mother also used her sharp feet to fight with Lu Fengyao. Their bodies were disproportionate, but Lu Fengyao had the upper hand when she returned to strength. The 2 sides fought fiercely, and there were countless cracks between heaven and earth. It was difficult to tell the winner for a while. Lin Moyu could see clearly that Lu Fengyao relied on the power of the magic weapon and the protection of the jade beads to only attack but not defend, and suppressed the insect mother. But it is not easy to decide the winner. Without this Taoist realm sword and jade bead, Lu Fengyao would have no problem fighting 1 against 1, but he would probably lose most of the time against 2. The fighting power of the Zerg is indeed powerful. No wonder it can compete with the dragon. It seems that if you want to end the battle quickly, you still need to help her. Would it be better to explode the corpse, or let Cheng Hongguang take action? Both methods are acceptable in front of Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu is not in a hurry. Lu Fengyao has already beaten her, so she will wait until she is satisfied. On land and sea. Amidst the shouts, Lu Fengyao suddenly used a spell. The world of rules emerged after Lu Fengyao's death. Her world of rules was a prosperous world. There were countless merchant ships and high-rise buildings in the world, which looked extremely prosperous. In the world of rules, sharp swords rushed out, and thousands of swords flew together in an instant. Thousands of sharp swords penetrate heaven and earth, and nothing can stop them wherever they pass. Whether it is the boundary sea or the origin continent, it can be accessed. The 2 insect mothers were submerged in the sea of swords and screamed. Their huge bodies were penetrated by the sword, and their sharp feet broke under the force of the sword, almost tearing the insect mothers to pieces. This sword is very strong, directly damaging the insect mother. But the next second, countless bugs flew out from the insect mother. These bugs quickly repaired the wounds and repaired the legs at the same time. In the blink of an eye, the mother returned to normal, and even her breath did not weaken. After the insect mother recovered, she quickly attacked Lu Fengyao. They were not afraid of being hurt at all, and they were not afraid of death. The insect mother waved her sharp legs and sprayed out countless dark green liquids at the same time. The liquid exploded in the air, forming thick clouds of fog. The dense fog was highly corrosive, and the jade beads used by Lu Fengyao to protect her body also became weak in the dense fog. Lu Fengyao had to avoid the fog. Tu Jian was a little helpless. Lin Moyu nodded slightly. It has strong recovery power, and this mist is also very corrosive. Lu Fengyao became more and more annoyed with the beating, and she gritted her teeth. It's so difficult. She has always known that the insect mother is difficult to deal with, but this is the first time she has actually fought against her, and she found that it is more difficult than others said. I couldn't help but feel upset when I thought that Lin Moyu easily defeated his opponent, but he couldn't even defeat a weaker opponent. When I was upset, Lin Moyu's voice came from afar. Do you want help? Lu Fengyao snorted. Don't look. She took out a scissors magic weapon, threw it into the air, pointed her sword at one of the insect mothers and shouted, 4.8 determine. The scissors shot out a beam of light and wrapped around the insect mother like a rope. The insect mother was immediately immobilized and unable to move. Lu Fengyao shouted again, cut. The scissors instantly enlarged, appeared on the insect mother, and cut it off with one cut. Click! In the crisp sound, the insect mother was cut in two. Not only the body, but also the soul was cut off. Lin Moyu's eyes flashed. This magic weapon alone is very powerful. The magic weapon is indeed very powerful. It is a Dao Zun realm magic weapon. It consumes a lot of energy to activate the Dao Zun realm magic weapon. After Lu Fengyao used it once, he consumed a lot of power and his aura dropped a lot. She took out a pill and threw it into her mouth, and then her breath recovered a little. She took back her scissors, raised her sword, and pointed at the last insect mother. The insect mother screamed and sprayed out countless green liquids. The liquid swept across a large area of the sky and turned into infinite poisonous mist, forcing Lu Fengyao to retreat. The insect mother suddenly screamed, turned around and ran away. The Zerg are not stupid. Seeing that they can't be beaten, there is no reason not to run away. Just because they are brave and not afraid of death doesn't mean they will die. I want to run away. Lu Fengyao saw this and immediately wanted to chase him. At this time Lin Moyu's voice sounded, no need to chase him, he can't jump. Lin Moyu put away the corpse of the insect mother that was beheaded by Lu Fengyao and came to Lu Fengyao's side in a hurry. Lu Fengyao raised his eyebrows. Why don't you chase me? Lin Moyu said, the dragon clan has arrived and is already targeting him. As soon as he finished speaking, there was lightning and thunder in the distance, and thunder fell down one after another, turning the sky into a sea of thunder. Lu Fengyao recognized the dragon clan's magic weapon. The dragon clan and the Zerg clan were mortal enemies, so how could they let each other escape? Seeing this, she stopped pursuing him. Without the high-level heavenly lord, the Zerg tribe could not escape the dragon tribe's pursuit. With the help of the elixir, Lu Fengyao's breath gradually stabilized. Now you can tell me why you want to kill the insects. Lin Moyu smiled slightly. Sister Fengyao, please allow me to keep a little secret. Maybe you will know it in the future, but not now. As he said that, he popped out a law of immortality and landed on Lu Fengyao. The power of life was like a breeze. Lu Fengyao's previous consumption was immediately restored. The effect is not much different from that of the elixir. Lu Fengyao was slightly shocked. The law of life? Lin Moyu 19 neither admitted nor denied, absolutely. Lu Fengyao said, it's impossible. Your previous spells didn't use the law of life. Lin Moyu said, can't I understand multiple laws at the same time? Lu Fengyao's eyes widened. Of course you can understand multiple laws, but you have only been practicing for a long time. How can you do it by understanding so many laws at the same time and cultivating to such a high level? Lin Moyu spread his hands. Isn't it possible to do it? It's not difficult. Lu Fengyao was speechless for a moment, but it was not difficult. Is it really not difficult? Don't be kidding, it's obviously very difficult, okay? Maybe this is a genius. Lu Fengyao didn't want to say anything anymore. After all, he was considered a genius and was outstanding in the Chamber of Commerce. But compared with the guy in front of him, he looked like an idiot. It's so irritating that people are more powerful than others. Lu Fengyao doesn't want to ask anymore. If she continues to ask, her Taoist heart will be broken. Amidst lightning and thunder in the distance, the insect mother was finally killed. The dragon put away the magic weapon and flew over. One of the high-level dragons looked around, and there was still green poisonous mist sprayed by the Zerg, indicating that there had been a battle here before. Because Lin Moyu possesses the Dragon Soul Crystal, the Dragon Clan Shenlong is also more polite towards him. Friends from the human race, have you seen the other two insect mothers? Lin Moyu said, already killed. Several Dragon Clan divine dragons were slightly startled. Guaranteed? That's the insect mother of a high-level heavenly lord. Lin Moyu took out 2 insect mother corpses and said, "It's them, right?" Several dragons looked shocked. They knew very well how difficult it was to kill the insect mother of the high-level heavenly lord. The high-level dragon still didn't believe it, but with the body right in front of him, he had to believe it. As a divine dragon of the Dragon Clan, he was arrogant and shouldn't have asked, but his curiosity made him unable to help asking, "Excuse me, how did you kill him?" Lin Moyu looked at Lu Fengyao, meaning that she was the one who killed him. After all, he is the Pinnacle Supreme, and if he says he killed him, these guys won't believe him. If he really believed it, how could he explain it? So Lin Moyu singled it out to Lu Fengyao. When looking at Lu Fengyao, Lin Moyu didn't forget to wink. Lu Fengyao was angry and funny, cursing in her heart, "Now I know how stupid I am, and I was so crazy just now. Forget it, for the sake of that fish bone, I'll help you this time." Lu Fengyao said, "I used this to kill him." She took out the scissors magic weapon, and Shenlong's eyes were shocked. "Soul-fixing scissors, you are a direct descendant of the Lufeng Chamber of Commerce." Lu Fengyao put the scissors away. "It's just an imitation, but I do belong to the Lufeng Chamber of Commerce." After seeing soul-fixing scissors, several dragons believed Lu Fengyao's words. Lin Moyu saw it in his eyes, and the look of surprise on their faces just now was unmistakable. Obviously, this magic weapon called soul-fixing scissors was well known in the field. The soul-fixing scissors dispelled the doubts of the dragons, and Lin Moyu asked, "Senior, have you discovered anything?" The leading high-level dragons said, "My name is Aole. You have the Dragon Soul Crystal, so you don't need to call me Senior." The Dragon Clan would not easily tell others his name. He was willing to tell Lin Moyu because Lin Moyu possessed the Dragon Soul Crystal, and Lu Fengyao's identity and strength qualified him to know his famous minister. Aole said, "We didn't find anything. The space collapsed before, and we all fell into a brief coma. After waking up, we came here." Lu Fengyao explained on the side, "The Dragon Clan has a secret method that can locate the center point of a certain world or space. There is such a secret method. It is truly a wonder in the world. It's no wonder that they were able to find the altar so quickly. It is estimated that the Zerg have similar methods to find it quickly." Aole asked, "Has Xiao Yulin discovered anything?" Lin Moyu didn't hide anything. He told the story about the whale swallowing the sea just now and expressed his guess. Now Lin Moyu is thinking about how to get out of here. He can't figure it out on his own, so he might as well use other people's brains to think about it together. Maybe if there are more people, we can find clues. Aole showed a solemn look. "You mean, the people want to resurrect this Taoist-level whale?" Lin Moyu nodded slightly. "This is just my guess and has not been confirmed." Several dragons looked thoughtful. They were also observing the whales and thinking about the possibilities in Lin Moyu's words. Lu Fengyao said, "The Dragon Clan has a long heritage and knows many things that we don't know, and their understanding of the Boundary Sea is far superior to other races." Lin Moyu also understood what Lu Fengyao meant. "I hope they will have an answer." Several dragons communicated in low voices, seeming to be discussing something. After a moment, Aole said, "We thought of a legend. Legend has it that an extremely powerful Taoist priest once appeared in the Boundary Sea. At that time, there was a fight between the 333 Sea clan in the Jiahai Sea and a mysterious force. The battle was very fierce, and Taoist masters from the Sea clan also participated in the battle. After the war, the Hai clan's vitality was severely damaged, and it should be that Dao Zun died." Lu Fengyao had doubts in her eyes. Obviously she had never heard of such a fight. Aole noticed Lu Fengyao's expression and rarely explained, "This battle took place in the deepest part of the Boundary Sea, and we only know a few details." Lin Moyu said, "You mean, the king of the Boundary Sea wants to resurrect it?" Aole said, "We do not rule out the possibility of using Dao pattern fish bones to enhance the strength of the creatures in this space, and then use the altar to harvest. Using the lives and origins of those creatures as sacrifices, plus the boundary see the power in the water, is not without this possibility. Lin Moyu's heart skipped a beat. Is it possible that we are also sacrifices? Ao Lei's eyes suddenly became solemn. He didn't realize this. Now that Lin Moyu said it, it was indeed possible. Lin Moyu continued to think, your analysis makes some sense, but it also doesn't make sense. Compared to the large number of creatures in this space, we people are just a drop in the bucket and treat us as sacrifices. In fact, halfway through his words, Lin Moyu suddenly stopped and thought of a possibility. To resurrect a dead creature, in addition to a large number of creatures as sacrifices, does it also require a soul with wisdom? Things that I couldn't figure out before suddenly became clear. Lin Moyu realized that the meaning of their existence was to provide wisdom for the resurrection of the whale. Because of the Tao pattern fish bones, the creatures in this space are not weak in strength, and high-level deities can be found everywhere. But these high-level deities have no wisdom. Using them as sacrifices can provide whales with huge vitality, but they cannot provide spirituality. Resurrection is not only for the body, but also for the soul. The resurrection of the soul may require wisdom. Lin Moyu doesn't know the specific process inside. This kind of thing is too high-end, and naturally he, a little supreme, will not understand it. However, he was able to deduce some clues from it. The previous tapping of the fish bones forcibly enhanced his soul realm and at the same time erased his spiritual intelligence. In fact, these spiritual intelligences are not necessarily erased. They may have been turned into sacrifices through some method. Who can know Taoist masters' methods? I can't understand the Tao pattern, and I don't know what kind of ability it contains. Lin Moyu looked at the fish bones in his hands, and then at the extremely huge whale, and suddenly thought of a possibility. Could there be more than one altar? If we are divided into different spaces, and then these spaces correspond to different altars, there will be more than one sword-shaped fish bone. Those middle-level and low-level deities may not be able to block the knocking of the fish bones. They will be deprived of their spiritual intelligence and eventually become the sacrifices needed for the whale's resurrection. More than tens of thousands of people came in, but in the end there were only a few dozen people in the altar. Some of the Dragon and Zerg tribes were also absent, and none from the Baichao Alliance were even absent. I used to think that people from the Baichao Alliance were not suitable for this kind of environment, but now it seems that the altar may not be the right one. His words caused the dragons to get into discussion again. They felt that Lin Moyu's words were reasonable. Lu Fengyao looked at Lin Moyu with a strange expression. How did you analyze these things? Lin Moyu said with a smile, maybe my idea is more complex, and I analyzed it naturally. Lu Fengyao wouldn't believe Lin Moyu's words. Then what should we do next? Lin Moyu said without thinking, wait. If there is an altar, let's see what happens to other altars. Will they collapse like us? There are also people who came here with us. I don't know where they went. They should be awake by now. Lu Fengyao said, oh, she realized that with Lin Moyu here, she didn't have to think anymore. Anyway, this guy is like a freak, thinking much more carefully than himself. After some discussion, the Dragon Clan seemed to have gotten the same answer as Lin Moyu, wait. The only solution now is to wait. The surroundings fell into silence, and only the sound of the crashing waves continued to reach the ears. Lin Moyu suddenly asked in a low voice, Sister Fengyao, I have something, can you take a look at it for me? Lu Fengyao asked curiously, what? Lin Moyu took out something like an awl, the size of a palm, with a sharp front and an oval shape at the back. This thing was obtained from Baichioxia. It was placed in the ancient box at the time and was obtained by Baichioxia accidentally. Also obtained is a pearl that contains the method of using the power of faith. Lin Moyu judged at that time that this thing came either from the ancient era of the human race or from the Boundary Sea. Lin Moyu couldn't understand this all-like thing. He asked the human emperor and Tianlong, but they didn't know what this thing was. Later, I asked Shueiji Tianzuan, but Shueiji Tianzuan didn't know either. Thinking that Lu Fengyao is from the Land Wind Chamber of Commerce, one of the largest trading forces in the original continent, he should have seen a lot of things, and maybe he can recognize them. Lu Fengyao held the awl in his hand and narrowed his eyes slightly. Where did you get this thing? Lin Moyu knew she had recognized this thing, obtained by chance during an expedition. Obtained by chance. Lu Fengyao said in a slightly weird tone, I got it together with this thing, and there should be an inheritance bead. Lin Moyu was slightly startled. Does anyone know this? Lu Fengyao suddenly laughed and said, I'm not joking with you. This thing is called an origin shuttle. It needs to be driven by origin crystals. It can travel between the world and the world at a very fast speed. Some people use it as a means of transportation. Your origin shuttle should be of the Tianzuan realm and can be driven by the first to third order origin crystals, corresponding to the low, medium, and high main level speeds of the Tianzuan realm. But your origin shuttle is broken and needs to be repaired before it can be used. When you arrive at the origin continent, find a big city and go to the Weapon Refining Masters Association to find a level 5 or above weapon refining master. They have the ability to repair the origin shuttle. It is quite unexpected that it is a means of transportation. This also means that the origin shuttle and even the inheritance pearl with the power of faith come from the origin continent. Lu Fengyao said, many years ago, a sect appeared on the origin continent called the Tianqian sect. They have a unique method of cultivation that can gather a unique power called the power of faith. This kind of power is very magical and powerful. It can increase the power of spells and can also be used to improve cultivation. In the Tianqian sect, a large number of Tianzuan appeared in a very short period of time, and later Taozun appeared. But as the Tianqian sect grew, they needed more and more believers, and the territory they occupied became larger and larger, and eventually they provoked big forces. You should be able to imagine the consequences. Lin Moyu could naturally think, then the Tianqian sect was destroyed. Lu Fengyao smiled and said, that's right, he was destroyed. Lin Moyu said, I guess that big force not only destroyed the Tianqian sect, but also wanted the cultivation method of the Tianqian sect's faith. Smart, indeed. Lu Fengyao praised. Lin Moyu thought for a while and continued, let me make a bold guess. That big force did not get the Tianqian sect's cultivation method. Even if it did, it would not be complete. The Tianqian sect should also have made some preparations to prevent their inheritance from being cut off. Lu Fengyao's eyes became brighter and brighter. You really guessed it right, that's it. It is said that the Tianqian sect produced a large number of inheritance beads, put the method of using the power of faith into the inheritance beads, and then shuttled with many origins together, spread out. It is said that among the thousands of inheritance beads, only one has completely recorded how to use the power of faith, and the others only record some basic methods, which are of little value. Lin Moyu asked, I guess, and the Tianqian sect will definitely tell the world, attracting more forces to compete for it, king. And that big force should not have the true inheritance of the Tianqian sect. Lu Fengyao stared at Lin Moyu. Why is your head so long? Lin Moyu said, actually, it's very simple. Although the Tianqian sect is not the opponent of the big forces, after all, there is a Taoist, and it cannot be destroyed just by wanting to destroy it. There must be some backup. Invite more opponents to fight for the inheritance together, take the opportunity to fish in troubled waters, sneak into Chinsong, and hide the real inheritance. I suspect that none of the inheritances released by the Tianqian sect are true. Their inheritance must be hidden somewhere. Lu Fengyao was completely speechless because Lin Moyu's guess was almost correct. What Lin Moyu said is exactly the same as what the elders in the family analyzed. However, the elders in their family have a lot of intelligence and information support, while Lin Moyu has nothing. She feels that Lin Moyu's analytical ability is really frightening. While the two were chatting, the sea water suddenly shook and the heaven and earth roared. In the distance, the sky is falling. The sky collapsed, huge holes appeared in the sky, and the water of the boundary sea fell from the sky with countless rocks. Not only rocks, but even complete islands fell together. After falling into the ocean, it stirred up water splashes all over the sky, and then quickly sank and disappeared. Lin Moyu keenly discovered that in addition to the rocks, there were also some cultivators rushing down with the water of the Boundary Sea, and the waves stirred up were rolled away and quickly disappeared. These cultivators were either human or demon, and each of them was unconscious. At the same time, he also saw that there were origin crystals mixed in the rocks and fell into the ocean. There was more than one landslide, and the skeleton god who was exploring this space sent information that many places had collapsed. The sky was like a torn sack of cloth, with holes everywhere. Lin Moyu originally wanted to save some of the human race, but found that the skeleton god could not get close at all. The water of the Boundary Sea rolled down, forming a strange force field, and the plaques were all blocked outside. This situation was different from the altar he had encountered before. In the distance, a dragon suddenly fell with the water of the Boundary Sea. Aole let out a dragon roar and flew over. But he was knocked back heavily before he got close, and even he couldn't get close. Aole was obviously very anxious. He tried again and again, but it was useless. He watched his companions fall into the ocean and disappeared. He also tried to rush into the ocean, but after searching for a while, he still didn't get anything. Lu Fengyao asked vigilantly, "Why is this happening? This situation seems to be different from their last time." They were all alive after the altar collapsed and fell down, 7 dragons, 3 insect mothers, not one less. But this time, those who fell into the ocean in a coma and then disappeared. This strange situation made Lu Fengyao alert. Lin Moyu looked at the hole, then at the sword-shaped fishbone in his hand. "This time it's different from ours." Lu Fengyao asked, "What's different?" Lin Moyu explained, "I took the initiative to trigger the Dao pattern in the altar, which can be regarded as activating the altar in advance, and it can also be regarded as destroying the original function of the altar. They should wait until the altar is fully activated and the power of the altar is exerted to the extreme, so they will be affected more." As he spoke, Lin Moyu stared at the nearest hole without blinking. He vaguely saw that there seemed to be a fishbone on the hole, a sword-shaped fishbone. In a farther place, Lin Moyu saw that members of the Baichao Alliance also fell from the sky. They were huge in size and in various shapes, but without exception, they were all in a coma. Finally, the skeleton god general made a new discovery. The person who fell with them before finally appeared. "This space is too large." Lin Moyu asked the skeleton god general to explore for a long time, but he never explored the edge. In addition to Lu Fengyao, the Zerg, and the dragon, he never saw a third person. Lin Moyu felt that he was extremely lucky to find Lu Fengyao. Now, someone from the same altar as them finally appeared, which also made Lin Moyu certain that the altar he was in had a different ending because of his series of operations. At this time, a cry of surprise came from his ears, and Lu Fengyao pointed at the whale. He moved again. The Dao pattern on the whale was lighting up quickly, and Lin Moyu felt uneasy in his heart and shouted, "Let's retreat." Without saying a word, the two of them avoided it from a distance, leaving a distance of more than 1,000 kilometers from the whale. The Dao pattern of the whale was all lit up, and then its big mouth opened, making a dull sound. In an instant, a terrible suction force appeared, and a large amount of seawater poured into the whale's huge mouth. The waterfall falling in the sky rushed into the whale's mouth frantically. But this time, it was different from the previous time. The waterfalls turned into water dragons, and entered the whale's huge mouth with great power. This suction swept the entire space, and no matter how far away, it would be sucked in. Lin Moyu saw that many practitioners who fell down with the waterfall were also sucked away by the whale and died on the spot. If I hadn't accidentally activated the altar in advance, I might have been like them. Lin Moyu's eyes were solemn. "The king of the Boundary Sea's order to the Boundary Sea this time is simply to kill us." "Sister Fengyao, were all the previous Jiahai orders safe?" Lu Fengyao rolled her eyes at him. "You think I know everything? There are very few rumors about the Jiahai order. But it is said that Jihailing's casualties were not heavy. I don't know what happened this time. Lin Moyu whispered, it's really strange. If we all died here and offended so many people at once, the king of the world, BJCJ, would also have a headache. Then what's going on? Did I see it wrong? The soul fire had indeed disappeared, and Silent Whisper instinctively thought that they were dead. But is he really dead? When Lu Fengyao said this, Lin Moyu was a little unsure. After all, those who can come to Jie Hailing are all people with background and strength. No matter how powerful the king of Jie Hai is, he must consider the consequences if he offends so many people at once. After the water from the Boundary Sea entered the whale's body, it was quickly refined and turned into ordinary water gushes out from its back. And the person swallowed by it never appeared again. After a while, the waterfall was finally swallowed up. The water of the Boundary Sea in the vast ocean was more than half refined, and the information was greatly weakened. The giant whale's body is exuding an indescribable aura, which is extremely powerful. At this time, the giant whale's devouring continued, and the suction force not only did not slow down, but became more powerful than before. From the holes in the ceiling, sword-like fish bones flew out and flew towards the whale. The sword-shaped fish bone in Lin Moyu's hand also buzzed, broke away from Lin Moyu, and flew over. The sword-shaped fish bones quickly grew in size and became extremely thick as they told the whale. Lin Moyu was suddenly surprised. I understand, these fish bones are the backbones of whales. For many creatures, the spine is the center of the entire physical body. Although it has been said that the physical body is not important, it is not completely unimportant. Especially after reaching Tao Zun, the body is also a very important part. Dao marks will appear in Dao Zun's body, and Dao marks are basically on the bones. With the Dao marks, Dao Zun's combat power will be greatly improved. After the physical body is destroyed and the flesh and blood is reshaped, it takes a long time for the Taoist patterns to recover. If the whale in front of me wants to be resurrected, this spine containing the Dao pattern is also a very important part. Compared with this vertebrae, other bones are much less important. There are a total of 18 sword-shaped fish bones. They are connected end to end and become extremely huge, just as big as a giant whale. The fish-bone combination was completed, a terrifying aura bloomed, and invisible power swept through the entire space. The fish bones sink slowly and merge with the giant whale. Lin Moyu now fully understood what was going on. Lu Fengyao noticed Lin Moyu's expression and asked in a voice, "Do you know something?" Lin Moyu did not hide it. After the whale died, its bones were scattered in various spaces. Our mission here is to collect these bones and then gather them in various altars. When the altar collapses, we will fall here with our bones. The sword-shaped fish bones in the altar are the spine of this whale, and the bones we collected are other parts. During the whale's resurrection process, it will swallow the people who come in, and the fish bones they collect will naturally be taken away by it. Lu Fengyao's eyes changed. She dared to think that the King of Realm C was using us as tools. Lin Moyu said, "Absolutely, but now I have doubts about the life and death of those people. Maybe they are not dead yet. Killing us all will not be good for the King of Boundary Sea." Suddenly, Lin Moyu's eyes narrowed slightly, and he could clearly see that a soul fire was forming inside the whale. Roar! Another loud roar resounded throughout the world, and the entire space completely collapsed. The huge backbone merges into the whale's body, and the whale suddenly bursts out with a powerful aura. The aura is far beyond that of ordinary Taoist masters, and much more powerful than the whale General Lin Moyu has ever seen. They are both Taoist whales, but their auras are completely different. The whale howled, and the whole space shook. There was a thunderous sound in the ears, and the whole space was trembling. A stronger suction force appeared than before, but it did not affect Lin Moyu and others. The skeleton gods distributed in the distance were suddenly squeezed by a huge force and retreated involuntarily. Lin Moyu's eyes tightened. The square space is shrinking. Lu Fengyao's expression changed. How could this happen? Is it going to swallow the entire space? Lin Moyu said, "It's not impossible. I even suspect that this space originally belonged to it." Lu Fengyao couldn't believe it. It was impossible. Lin Moyu said, "Although I have never seen Dao Zun's rule world, I feel that nothing is impossible." Lu Fengyao said, "Then he swallowed up all the space. Does he want to kill us all?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "You don't have to kill us. I said before that the king of Yuanhai has no reason to kill us." Lu Fengyao was completely confused by Lin Moyu. Instead of killing them, he wanted to devour them. In her opinion, this was very contradictory. Lin Moyu didn't feel conflicted. He believed in his own judgment. Lu Fengyao said, "What should we do now?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "Do you have any way to deal with Dao Zun? For example, use the soul-fixing scissors to kill it again." Lu Fengyao rolled her eyes at Lin Moyu. "If it is a genuine soul-fixing scissors, and Taoist master takes action, there may be some chance. The implication is that she can't do it." Lin Moyu shrugged. "That's fine. All we can do now is wait." Lu Fengyao glared at Lin Moyu. "We're waiting again. Isn't there any other way?" Lin Moyu said, "I'm just a supreme being. Even Sister Fengyao can't do anything to you. What can I do?" "Who knows?" Lu Fengyao snorted. Lin Moyu's previous performance has nothing to do with his level. Now Lu Fengyao no longer believes in Lin Moyu's words. Lin Moyu said there is no way, but it may not really be possible. Lin Moyu said helplessly, "I can't help you if you don't believe me. This time, there is really no good solution." Facing Dao Zun, Lin Moyu couldn't think of any way to counterattack. Even if you use Resurrection of the Dead, you can turn the whale into a resurrector first. But can his Resurrection of the Dead control Dao Zun? With Dao Zun's ability, even if he lost control for a moment, he would be dead. So this method was rejected by Lin Moyu from the beginning. In addition to resurrecting the dead, Lin Moyu thought of other methods of his own, but they were useless. Unless he can be given a Taoist realm corpse now, it may not be effective. But look at the breath of this whale, let's forget it. The gap between Dao Zun and Dao Zun is also huge. Lin Moyu said, "Don't worry, trust me, it won't be heavy." After recalling the previous experience again, Lin Moyu believed in his judgment that the other party probably did not want to kill them. He took back all the skeleton generals and waited with peace of mind. Space is shrinking rapidly, getting faster and faster. Most of the people who had fallen off the altar with them were in a coma and were swallowed by the whale together. Only a few woke up, but could not find their direction. Now they are here as the space shrinks. After only half a day, the space had shrunk tens of millions of times. Everyone who was still awake was gathered together. Lin Moyu, Lu Fengyao, 7 dragons, and 8 other high-level gods. Among them are 5 demon-clan heavenly beings and 3 human race heavenly beings. At this moment, everyone except Lin Moyu and Lu Fengyao were a little panicked and uneasy. As you can imagine, everyone was upset when faced with this situation. Some people even wanted to attack the whale, but the Taoist aura exuded by the whale made it difficult for them to even move. The gap between Tian Zun and Dao Zun is too big. If the other party is still alive, he can crush himself to death with just his breath without using any hands at all. Lu Fengyao bit her silver teeth and whispered, when it was still alive, it was definitely an extremely powerful Taoist. Lin Moyu agreed with Lu Fengyao, "You are right." Lu Fengyao gritted his teeth and said, "Whatever means you have, use it quickly, my aunt feels like she is really going to die." Lin Moyu's eyes were filled with confidence. "There is really no other way, don't worry, you won't die, believe me." Lu Fengyao looked at Lin Moyu's confident look and said, "Okay, my aunt will believe in you again." 1. With a dull roar, the remaining space was swallowed by the whale, along with Lin Moyu and the others. Lin Moyu felt as if he had gone through a long teleportation, and a mysterious force fell on him, constantly sweeping away him. He seemed to be seen through everything inside and out, and there was no secret about his wealth. This power swept away the physical body and began to invade the soul world. In the world of rules, the world tree shines and resists this power. The 10-color dragon soul crystal spits out dragon breath and helps the world tree purify all external forces. Lin Moyu has lost control of his physical body at this moment, and his entire body has fallen into dormancy, but his soul is extremely awake. Please give me flowers. It's not that easy to peek into my soul. You can look at the physical body however you want. There is no secret in Lin Moyu's physical body. But the soul world is not good. Just the 10-color dragon soul crystal cannot be known to anyone. This is Lin Moyu's forbidden area. Any trespassers will die. Lin Moyu picked up the natural disaster scepter and prepared for battle. Fortunately, that power did not forcefully invade after being resisted by the world tree and the colorful dragon soul crystal. After several tests, it retreated like a tide. Lin Moyu understood what was going on after thinking about it for a moment. Those who were devoured must have gone through a double search of body and soul just like myself. If these people themselves are in a coma, and their souls are also unconscious, the rules world will not resist, and the other party can naturally complete the search easily. But when you are awake, the world of rules will naturally resist the other party, and the other party will give up after testing. Oh. Searching other people's souls is offending people to death. If you don't know, it's okay to say it. If you know, then you won't stop fighting. It can be inferred from this that the other party does not want to offend him to death, so naturally he will not kill him. As for why we are searching, it is nothing more than fish bones. I'm afraid someone might hide the fish bones. Lin Moyu couldn't help but guess how the king of Realm C would treat sober people like himself, and he was not the only sober person. It is impossible for the divine dragons of the Dragon Clan to let the other party search their own world of rules. The teleportation process was a bit long, and the picture in front of him became clear, and Sleepy Moyu found that he had returned to the square before. There are stone pillars standing one after another, and the stone pillars are engraved with various world sea creatures, countless. Came back. Lin Moyu glanced over and saw Lu Fengyao and several dragons. The people who were awake before are all together now. And there were people lying on the ground in the distance, all in a coma. Lu Fengyao came to Lin Moyu's side in 2 steps, with surprise. We are really not dead. Lin Moyu was cautious at this moment. It's not that simple. Do you still have the fish bones I gave you before? Lu Fengyao was stunned for a moment, and immediately checked the storage ring and found that the fish bones were still there. Lin Moyu secretly thought in his heart, the king of Jiehai did not directly take the fish bones. The search was just to find out how many fish bones were brought back. As I said before, fish cannot be brought back to the cliff. The 3 fish bones he put in the storage space are still there. Lin Moyu wants to see what the other party will do next before deciding whether to hand over the fish bones. A powerful pressure swept over them, like a high mountain pressing down on everyone. Everyone realized that the king of the Boundary Sea had arrived. A black shadow appeared in the sky, and the shadow of the king of the Black Sea appeared above everyone's head. I couldn't see its appearance clearly, but I knew it was very strong and very scary. The king of the Sea of the Realm had many Dao Zun under his command, and he could make these Dao Zun bow down to him, so you can imagine how powerful he is. The strong are the king, and this principle works in any corner of the Origin continent. The people who were still awake saluted the king of the Sea of the Realm, and at this moment even the proud Dragon Clan had to bow their heads. The gap in strength can no longer be made up by status. The voice of the king of the sea boundaries sounded slowly. Congratulations to everyone for returning safely. Please hand in the fish bones you harvested this time, and we will give you corresponding rewards. When Lin Moyu heard the words of the king of the sea boundary, he immediately knew that his guess was right. In fact, the king of the sea boundary already knew how many fish bones each person had. He did not take them away on his own initiative, but asked them to hand them in themselves. This not only gave enough face, but also Ren would not miss the fish bones. Lin Moyu looked into the distance, and there were people lying unconscious on the ground. These people were indeed not dead, but Lin Moyu instinctively felt that these unconscious people were different from those who were awake like himself. The Eye of the Dead was opened, and he gradually discovered some differences under close observation. The soul fire of the unconscious people seemed to be injured. The soul was traumatized. Strange, how could the soul be injured? Before they were swallowed by the whale, their souls were not injured, that is to say, the injury occurred after they were swallowed by the lockfish. And those of us who are awake don't seem to be injured. Lin Moyu couldn't figure out what happened for a moment, but he didn't have time to think too much at this moment. The few people who came back awake have already taken out the fish bones. Almost everyone has obtained fish bones, and they only have one piece. Only Lu Fengyao has 2 fish bones, one of which was given by Lin Moyu. It can be seen that Lu Fengyao is a little proud that she has more fish bones than others. The fish bones flew from their hands and were taken away by the King of the Sea. When everyone handed in the fish bones, Lin Moyu also took out the fish bones he had obtained. Lin Moyu did not choose to hide it. He didn't know whether his storage space could be hidden from the search of the King of the Sea. For safety reasons, it is better to take it out. The fish bones are of little use to him for the time being. It is not worth it to gamble with his life for something that is not very useful. 3 pieces of different shapes appeared in his hands. Lu Fengyao's beautiful eyes glared. You actually have so many. She realized why Lin Moyu was so generous and willing to give her one. It turned out that Lin Moyu actually had 4 fish bones. He gave himself one and still had 3. The little pride just now was gone in an instant. After Lin Moyu took out 3 fish bones, he felt a gaze falling on him. The gaze seemed to have substance, with an indescribable heaviness, pressing on him. Lin Moyu seemed to hear a light exclamation, as if the King of the Sea boundary was a little surprised. He can't find my storage space. It was just a small reaction, and Lin Moyu immediately realized that even the King of the Sea boundary could not check his storage space. So the King of the Sea boundary was surprised that he took out the fish bones. Perhaps before this, he had already thought that he did not get the fish bones. It is not easy to get fish bones, and it is normal not to get them. The invisible force fell, and the 3 fish bones containing the Tao pattern slowly rose into the air and were taken away by the King of the Sea boundary. At the same time, pieces of gemstones flew down from the sky, and each gemstone exuded a strong aura of origin. This is the origin crystal. No, it's not the original crystallization, but the original aura is not fake. Lin Moyu thought they were origin crystals at first sight, but after carefully distinguishing them, he felt that these gems were different from the origin crystals. If you look closely, you will see that it is somewhat similar to the world crystal, but it is still different. Among everyone present, Lu Fengyao was undoubtedly the most knowledgeable. Lu Fengyao covered her mouth and exclaimed, "World gem." In addition to Lu Fengyao, there were also people who recognized what these gems were, and their expressions became excited. Lin Moyu didn't know what a world gem was, but it could be seen from everyone's expressions that this thing called a world gem was probably not an ordinary thing. Otherwise, Lu Fengyao, who was used to seeing good things, would not be so excited. Lin Moyu sent a message to Lu Fengyao, "What is the world gem?" Lu Fengyao sent a message, "It's a good thing. I'll tell you later." The voice of the King of Boundary Sea sounded, "This is the reward I give you. These world gems are of excellent quality and extremely precious. I hope they can be helpful to you." Following his voice, the world's gems flew towards everyone. Except Lu Fengyao and Lin Moyu, each one has 1. Lu Fengyao has 2, and Lin Moyu has 3. Lin Moyu felt that others were looking at him with envy and jealousy. This is true even for the 2 high-level dragons of the Dragon Clan. The voice of the King of Boundary Sea sounded again, "Now, please make another soul oath and not reveal what happened today." The King of Boundary Sea seemed to be discussing, but in fact his tone was firm and completely demanding. If any of them dares not to swear, there is no way they can leave safely. Naturally, no one dared to violate his words, and they all made soul oaths. Lin Moyu also followed suit and made a soul oath, swearing not to tell anyone what happened today. During the whole process, no one dared to fake it. Dao Zun was watching from above. Anyone who dared to fake it would be joking with his own life. After making the oath, the king of the Boundary Sea whispered, "Everyone, please go aside and rest. Wait for the others to wake up, and then return together." An invisible force fell and enveloped the area where everyone was. The king of the Boundary Sea above his head has already gone to another area, which is the area for the comatose. Deal with those who are awake first, and then go to those who are unconscious. Needless to say, the treatment of the two will be different. Lin Moyu wanted to see what the difference was between the two. At this time, a high-level human celestial lord came to Lin Moyu and slightly raised his hand towards Lin Moyu. Xiong Borong, I wonder if you, Mr. Lin, can sell a world gem. The price is up to you." His words were very polite, and he obviously put himself and Lin Moyu in the same position. Before Lin Moyu could answer, Lu Fengyao had already come and stopped in front of Lin Moyu. 0.0, no sale, no sale, Xiong Tianzuan, you have to respect yourself and don't try to take advantage. Xiong Tianzuan looked happy, I will give you a suitable price. Lu Fengyao said, okay, world-class 6th order origin, 1 for 1. Xiong Tianzuan showed a bitter smile, Fairy Fengyao, you have made things difficult for others. Lu Fengyao said, you and I both know the value of this high-quality world gem. A piece of world-class 6th order origin is not expensive. Xiong Tianzuan sighed, said no more and turned to leave. Lin Moyu was shocked. He didn't expect that the value of this world gem was so high, comparable to the world-class 6th order origin. That is a world-class 6th order origin, not an ordinary 6th order origin. Its value is only inferior to the world-class 7th order origin, and can even exceed the ordinary 7th order origin. Lu Fengyao blocked Xiong Tianzuan for Lin Moyu. At the same time, he rolled his eyes at Lin Moyu and took out a jade tablet, blood, essence blood. Lu Fengyao was not polite at all, and Lin Moyu didn't care. He directly squeezed out a drop of blood and dropped it on the jade tablet. The jade plaque suddenly glowed brightly, and Lin Moyu felt that there was some connection between himself and the jade plaque. With a soft sound, the jade tablet split into two. Lu Fengyao handed half of the jade token to Lin Moyu. From now on, you are a high-level member of our Lufeng Chamber of Commerce, and this half of the jade token is your proof of identity. When you come to the Lufeng Chamber of Commerce in the future, as long as you show this half jade token, you can get a 20% discount on your purchases. The fish bone you gave me, I will convert it into source crystal for you when I get back, and deposit it into your membership account. My aunt is always fair and just when doing business and will not take advantage of anyone. Lu Fengyao spoke loudly, and everyone present could hear it. She wants to tell others that if they want to take advantage of Lin Moyu, there is no way. Several Tianzuan who were still thinking about it suddenly gave up their thoughts. With the Lufeng Chamber of Commerce here, it would be difficult to take advantage of Lin Moyu. At this time, Lu Fengyao gave Lin Moyu another jade plaque and said via voice transmission, I have recorded the uses of the world's gems, you can see for yourself. If you really want to sell world gems, remember to come to me. When you get to the origin continent, you can go to the Lufeng 19 Chamber of Commerce to find me. Lin Moyu was slightly startled. Sister Fengyao's world is about to be promoted to the 7th level? In the World War, most Tianzuan is fighting for the world-class 7th level origin. Before the world reaches the 7th level, few people will take the initiative to end it. Lu Fengyao said, originally it was a little worse, but now that we have the world gem, it should be no problem. I may return to my original continent soon. Maybe by the time you see me again, my aunt will already be a Taoist priest. My aunt will protect you then, and you can be lawless. Lin Moyu's head is full of black lines. This young lady who calls herself Great Aunt seems to be too excited. However, Lin Moyu still followed her words, congratulations to Sister Fengyao first. When the time comes, I will come to the origin continent and join you. Lu Fengyao took care of everything, just come and take care of food and housing. Lu Fengyao really has double standards when it comes to killing his enemies but not burying them, and caring about food and shelter for his own people. However, Lin Moyu said that he appreciates this double standard and likes it very much. Hearing a strange sound in the distance, his soul jumped slightly. Lin Moyu saw those unconscious people waking up one after another. After they woke up, their eyes seemed a little dazed, and it took a while before they returned to normal. The king of the Boundary Sea appeared above them, and the same thing happened again. Those people also took out the fish bones in exchange for rewards. However, the reward they received was not the world gem, but the source. Every piece of fish bone can be exchanged for a piece of 5th level origin. It was not an ordinary 5th level origin, but a high-quality 5th level origin, similar to the origin fire that Lin Yu had obtained. Although this source is not as good as the world-class source, its value is not low. It can be seen from the expressions of everyone that they seem to be very satisfied with getting such a reward. Something's wrong. Lin Moyu looked at their every move and felt something was wrong. Their words, every action, and every tiny expression seemed to have a hint of dullness. No one who can become a heavenly lord is a fool. It can be said that they are all smart people. No matter what his personality is, the agility in his eyes and temperament is beyond the comparison of ordinary people. But now, the agility of these people is gone. Although it was only a small change, Lin Moyu still captured it keenly. Lin Moyu immediately realized what was going on. The intelligence of these people is amazing. He thought of whales. In order for whales to be resurrected, in addition to restoring their bodies with huge vitality, they also needed to restore their souls. Not only the soul itself, but also the spiritual wisdom. The king of Jiehai used a very special method to deprive these heavenly lords of some of their spiritual wisdom. It's just that the deprivation is not much, and they can't even feel it. At most, they feel that their souls have been slightly damaged. This kind of minor damage will not affect their realm and cultivation. Tianzuan is still Tianzuan. As powerful as he was before, he is still as powerful now. But Lin Moyu knows that their foundation has been damaged and it is impossible to go further in the future. Unless you have some incredible luck, you will never be able to become a Taoist master in this life. Tianzuan will always be Tianzuan. For a Tianzuan, it is so disappointing when it is finally difficult to enter the Dao Zone. It won't take long for these people's souls to recover, and no one will be able to tell what happened. A chill rose from the depths of his soul. Lin Moyu never expected that this would be the case. Although the king of Boundary Sea did not kill them, it was actually less terrifying than killing them. If I hadn't destroyed the altar in advance, would I have been like these people, unconscious and deprived of part of my intelligence without realizing it? Lin Moyu is not sure if this kind of thing happens to him, whether the new talent will be effective. Dao Zun's methods are indeed terrifying. You can ruin other people's futures without even realizing it, and they won't even know it. Lin Moyu sighed in his heart. Fortunately, he avoided this disaster. At this time, Lu Fengyao's voice came to my ears. What are you looking at? Lin Moyu said, I'm looking at their rewards, which are different from ours. Lu Fengyao said, yeah, they just got the 5th level origin. Although it's not bad, it can't be compared with the world gem. I don't know why this is happening. Looking at them, they seem quite happy. Lin Moyu would naturally not reveal his findings. If he did, he would probably die soon. No longer paying attention to them, Lin Moyu took the jade token given by Lu Fengyao and looked at its contents. During the World War, there were many treasures used in the World War. World Gem is one of them. It has a great effect and is also very simple. Its greatest use is to promote the world of Jiehai. If the world of Jiehai wants to advance, it needs to devour the origins of other worlds. There are many strange fishes in the Boundary Sea that have origins. These origins are full of impurities. After being given to the Boundary Sea world for refining, they can enhance the Boundary Sea world to a certain extent. If the Jiahai world is injured, as long as it is not too serious, they can be used to recover. But once the Jiahai world is seriously injured, or the Jiahai world wants to be promoted, they are useless and must devour other Jiahai worlds. Or you can do it by directly giving the world-class origin. In addition to this, there is another method, which is the World Gem. The World Gem is actually a special world-class source. It cannot be used for cultivation and fusion of magic, but it can make the world of Jiahai better. The higher the level of the Boundary Sea world, the more World Gems are needed and the higher the quality requirements. According to Lu Fengyao, the World Gems they obtained were high-quality World Gems that could promote the 6th Order world to the 7th Order world. A 6th level world, which is the weakest, only needs 3 such World Gems to advance to the next level. Lu Fengyao's 6th Order world is already quite powerful, and only 1 piece is enough. The 6th level world of the previous Xiong Tianzuan might not be powerful enough, and 1 might not be enough, so I wanted to ask Lin Moyu to buy 1. Lin Moyu doesn't know how many levels his Jiahai world has reached. Anyway, he has 3 World Gems, which is definitely enough. It's no wonder that those heavenly lords are envious of themselves. The world's gems happen to be the treasures they all long for. There was a roar in the square and the ground shook slightly. Lin Moyu felt that the square began to rise and leave the depths of the Boundary Sea. They are going back. Everyone who participated in the Jiahai Order seemed to be satisfied. Although there were casualties, they were not many, and no one paid attention to these dead people. In the Origin Continent and the Boundary Sea world, countless people die every day. Most of these people who can become heavenly lords are killed from mountains of corpses and seas of blood, and they are not used to this kind of thing. Especially in the battle for the Boundary Sea world, countless lives were lost. If this can affect their Taoist heart, they are not qualified to become Tianzuan. Lu Fengyao breathed a sigh of relief. I'm finally going back. She was also very happy. After returning, she used the World Gems to upgrade the world to the 7th level, and then harvested the world level 7th level origin. After preparing for a while, she can use her world-class 7th level origin to be promoted to Taoist Master. Lin Moyu was not as optimistic as others at this moment. The chill deep in his soul had not receded yet. He was frightened by the Sea King's methods. Before he really left, Lin Moyu couldn't calm down. But on the surface, Lin Moyu behaved as if nothing had happened. He even looked a little excited like others. Lin Moyu suddenly asked, Sister Fengyao, after your world reaches the 7th level, what do you plan to do with the creatures in it? Lu Fengyao chuckled and said, there are no living creatures in my world. Lin Moyu was stunned for a moment. There is no living thing? Lu Fengyao said, I have considered this problem from the beginning. The creatures inside are difficult to deal with, so I chose another method. There are not 10 creatures inside. I put many puppets inside. If there's a fight, let the puppets come in. And my puppets are made using technological magic weapons. I can make many of them. If you want to fight, let them fight. It turned out to be like this, using technological magic weapons to create puppets to replace living beings. In this way, there will be no problem of how to deal with the creatures in the world after the world of Jiahai reaches the 7th level. Most of the high-level heavenly lords usually harvest their origins and carry out actions to destroy the world. Lu Fengyao obviously didn't want this, so he chose another path. Lu Fengyao said in a message, actually, it is not a good thing for those deities to destroy the world, and sometimes it will involve some cause and effect. If there are too many causes and effects, there will be some unexpected troubles, and it will also weaken luck. For future considerations, it is better not to commit suicide. Lin Moyu knew that Lu Fengyao was speaking to him. Lin Moyu nodded, I know, I will pay attention when the time comes and see if there is another way to go. Lu Fengyao hummed, of course, if you really want to do something to destroy the world, you have to do it cleanly and cut off the cause and effect as much as possible. Lin Moyu nodded to express his understanding and asked, are there many technological magic weapons on the Origin Continent? Lu Fengyao said, it's okay, it's not too much. It's all made by those cultivators who believe in technology. It's really amazing. Lin Moyu asked curiously, tell me about it. Lu Fengyao shook his head, I can't explain it, it's too complicated. You can only understand this thing if you go to the origin continent and understand it yourself. If you want to know, you can come to the Lufeng Chamber of Commerce and buy some relevant information. But let me tell you in advance, it's not cheap. Even if you are a premium member, you can only get a 20% discount, so be prepared. Lin Moyu nodded, okay, I will prepare the money. The so-called money is the crystallization of origin. Lu Fengyao is essentially a businessman. Being sentimental and doing business are two different things and do not conflict with each other. The square finally stopped after rising for a while. At this time, Lin Moyu could feel that he had arrived at the previous position, not far from the surface of the Boundary Sea. The shadow of the king of the Boundary Sea reappeared. Everyone, through the Boundary Sea order, returned to their own world. His words were like orders, and rays of light fell from the sky, landing on everyone's body. The Jiahai order is automatically activated, forming a light group to wrap around everyone. Jiahai Ling brought them here, and now he brought them back. Lu Fengyao stood in the light and smiled brightly at Lin Moyu. Remember to come to me, my aunt will protect you. Lin Moyu also waved his hand. I wish Sister Fengyao a successful promotion to Taoist Master in advance. After the words fell, Lu Fengyao disappeared. The light went away one after another, and the people who came here quickly disappeared and returned to their own world of Boundary Sea. Lin Moyu's expression became solemn because he did not leave. Although he was shrouded in light like everyone else, the Jiahai order did not send him away. Lin Moyu had a vague premonition in his heart. Could it be that my storage space has aroused the curiosity of the King of the Sea? Or, he knew I found out what he did. While he was thinking wildly, the shadow of the King of the Boundary Sea appeared in the sky again. Two groups of light lit up in the shadow, like a pair of eyes, falling on Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu's body sank, and Tao Zun's gaze put great pressure on him. You are unique. A thick and deep voice sounded in Lin Moyu's ears. Lin Moyu's soul jumped, but he tried to remain calm on the surface. What orders do you have for me to stay here? The King of Boundary Sea whispered, don't be afraid, I'm not here to settle accounts with you, even if you discover my secret, it doesn't matter. Lin Moyu smiled bitterly. He had tried his best to be careful, but in the end he couldn't hide it from Tao Zun. However, Lin Moyu did not feel the murderous intention of the King of Boundary Sea, which also showed that this matter still needs to be discussed. Lin Moyu tried his best to stay calm and said weakly, what do you want me to do, make another soul oath? The King of Boundary Sea seemed to be examining Lin Moyu, and Lin Moyu could feel the changes in his eyes, as if he was trying to see through himself. Fortunately, he stopped and did not take any further action. You are a smart person. Among the people I have seen, there are very few people like you. Smart people tend to live longer, and smart people tend to have better luck. Lin Moyu was very modest. You are very grateful. There is a saying in my world, once you are smart, you will be confused for a while, and your wisdom will be mistaken for you. Sometimes I feel that being too smart is not a good thing, and if you are not careful, you will be killed. Disaster. The King of Jiahai snorted, seemingly laughing, you can't. I haven't finished what I just said. Your luck is very strong, and you are also one of the people with the strongest luck I have ever seen. You are the supreme one, but your luck is already comparable to that of some Taoist masters. This also shows that in the future, you are very likely to become a Taoist, and you will not be an ordinary Taoist. The words of the King of Boundary Sea seemed to be explaining the reason why he did not kill himself. It's because he is smart and has enough luck, Qian Zhao's, to be strong enough. Lin Moyu has understood the subtext of his words. He must have something to work hard on. Lin Moyu smiled and said, if you have anything to say, just tell me. I will do my best. The King of Jiahai said, you don't have that ability now. You have to wait until you become a Taoist. I only want a promise from you. After you become a Taoist, when I come to you, don't refuse. Of course, I will not let you commit suicide, and I can give you a generous reward that will make all Taoists envious. Lin Moyu thought to himself, just start returning the cakes. He knew that what the king of the Boundary Sea wanted him to do would not be simple. But now, he is in no position to refuse. On the surface, he could still show interest, a reward that is the envy of all Taoists. Are you sure there is really no danger? His appearance seemed a little moved, but at the same time he was a little hesitant. At this moment, Lin Moyu brought his acting skills that he has accumulated for many years to the extreme. After repeatedly receiving assurances from the king of the Boundary Sea, Lin Moyu was finally sure that what the king of the Boundary Sea wanted him to do was not completely without danger. In other words, it is dangerous for others, but it is manageable for yourself. The reason is that I am smart enough and have good luck. The combination of the two made the king of Boundary Sea feel that he could complete what he had to explain. Lin Moyu also asked secretly why the king of Boundary Sea didn't go by himself. There are so many Taoists in the Hai clan, why not go? The answer he got made Lin Moyu unable to cry. The answer of the king of Boundary Sea is very simple, just 3 words, not suitable. There is no specific reason explained, but this answer is enough. 3 words can express many meanings, whether the intelligence level is not suitable, the luck is not suitable, or the race is not suitable. Everything is possible, you will only know when the time comes. In this case, Lin Moyu has only one choice, and that is to agree to the king of Boundary Sea. And from the conversation, Lin Moyu discovered that although the king of the Realm Sea was ruthless in his methods, he still paid attention to fairness. Just like what happened this time, as long as you can stay awake and don't fall into a coma, he won't force you. Otherwise, with his strength, he could forcibly deprive him of his intelligence and even change his memory. But he didn't do this, so Lin Moyu felt that Hazy 550 still emphasized fairness to a certain extent. It's not impossible to deal with such people. After agreeing to the king of Boundary Sea, Lin Moyu made a new soul oath not to tell anyone what happened today. The king of Boundary Sea finally asked Lin Moyu to leave a soul mark on the square. When the time comes, he will find Lin Moyu through the soul mark. At the same time, as Lin Moyu's realm improves, the soul mark will also change. Lin Moyu will know when he reaches the Taoist realm. On the occasion of parting, Lin Moyu suddenly raised a question that he had been thinking about for a long time. He wanted to ask Lu Fengyao this question before, but later he knew that Lu Fengyao probably wouldn't know the answer. Perhaps with the knowledge of the king of Boundary Sea, there will be an answer. He wanted to know, given the situation of the human emperor and Xing Lao, was there any way to get them to go further? Xiao Zhantian once paid too much for the human race in the big world. Later, through a technological magic weapon, the soul and the magical body were divided into 2 parts, and the human race was protected for countless years. Although they gained the ability to live forever, they could not go any further. Lin Moyu tried various methods, but to no avail. When he raised this question, Jeb, the king of the Realm Sea, gave him 3 methods. The first method is to find suitable technological magic weapons and use technological magic weapons to improve their realm, but to what level they can be raised, it depends on what kind of technological magic weapons Lin Moyu can obtain. The second method is to wait until Lin Moyu completely controls the world, and then he can fuse the 2 people and make them one again, which is equivalent to resurrecting Xiao Zhantian. The third method is to reincarnate the 2 of them, but only after Lin Moyu takes control of the world and reaches Tao Zun. It can directly reincarnate the 2 people to the original continent, keep the memories of their lives, and live a new life. Each of the 3 methods has different advantages and disadvantages, allowing Lin Moyu to choose freely. The first method has many limitations, and technological magic weapons are not easy to find. The second method is to reunite the 2 people as one, seemingly resurrecting Xiao Zhantian, but both of them have independent consciousness. Who will make the decision? There must be a choice. From this point of view, the third method is the best, but it can only be done after Lin Moyu reaches Tao Zun. Although it is impossible to complete it now, At least the King of Boundary Sea has provided the corresponding method, and the choice is in the hands of Lin Moyu. Perhaps he was still looking forward to Lin Moyu doing things for him after he became Taoist master. The King of Jehai had a very good attitude towards Lin Moyu and almost always answered all questions. Lin Moyu took the opportunity to ask some key questions, especially a question that had troubled him for a long time, and got the answer. Through the question and answer method, Lin Moyu better understood the temper of the King of the Sea. Finally, with the light of the Jehai order, Lin Moyu left this Haizu square. The Haizu square became quiet, and a chuckle came from the shadow of the King of the Sea. This little guy is quite interesting. I hope he won't disappoint me in the future. This time it was a success. Mr. Jing can finally be resurrected. More than 1,000,000 meters deep in the Boundary Sea, in a strange space, waves of dull low roars kept coming. When the surrounding creatures in the world heard this sound, they fled one after another, staying far away and not daring to get close. In the strange space, there seems to be a terrifying creature resurrecting. Since the beginning of the Jehai order, the world has always been shrouded in the light of Tao. The sea area around the big world is calm and calm, without a trace of waves. Shueiji Tianzuan has been watching quietly not far from the big world from the moment the Jehai order began. He saw that the light was still there, so Lin Moyu was fine on behalf of Yuan. He has had many experiences with Jehai Ling. As long as the light disappears but the person does not come back, it means that the person is dead. On this day, the light beam suddenly disappeared, and Shueiji Tianzuan opened his eyes and looked over. After seeing Lin Moyu appear out of thin air, Shueiji Tianzuan breathed a long sigh of relief and swam over with all 4 legs fluttering. You are finally back. Lin Moyu looked at Shueiji Tianzuan and smiled brightly. You have been waiting. As soon as he came back and saw Shueiji Tianzuan, he knew that Shueiji Tianzuan must have been waiting for him, and he felt a little touched. Shueiji Tianzuan snorted, Who's waiting? I was just looking for a place to sleep, and I happened to sleep here. Lin Moyu didn't expose him. How long have I been gone? Whether it was Haizu Plaza or that strange space, Lin Moyu could feel that time was a little chaotic. He knew that the timeline there was different, but he couldn't tell how big the difference was. Shueiji Tianzuan said, It's almost 200 days. 200 days in the Boundary Sea are equivalent to more than 5,000 years in the big world. Lin Moyu smiled and said, Fortunately, it didn't take long. Shueiji Tianzuan snorted, Not very good. Tianzuan has already appeared in your world. That heavenly lord seems restless and wants to become the lord of the world, but he has not succeeded yet. Lin Moyu raised his eyebrows, with a hint of coldness in his eyes. There's another thing, more than 5,000 years is indeed not a short time, and a lot of things can happen. He remembered that before him in the Jehai order, there were already practitioners who wanted to reach the peak of supreme being. With good luck, it is not impossible to become a heavenly lord in 5,000 years. After all, now that the big world has been restored, all kinds of precious materials will be nurtured. The origin is powerful enough, and the cultivation speed of the cultivators inside is also greatly accelerated. Shueiji Tianzuan said, How do you plan to deal with it? Lin Moyu said with a smile, I am the only one who can compete on the road. I am not the Holy Mother. Although we are all human beings, if you want to compete with me for position, then you have no choice but to kill me. In the battle between the great avenues, the master of the world can only be himself. No matter who it is, Ingshi will die. Shueiji Tianzuan chuckled, Dao Jingfeng, that's right, this kind of person should be killed. The atmosphere in the big world became a little unusual. Lin Moyu felt the change when he entered it. Heavenly lords appeared in the world, and there were people like me who came into contact with the origin of the world. Tianzuan is qualified to contact the origin of the great world. But if you want to become the lord of the world, it is not enough to be a low-level heavenly lord. Back then, there were so many heavenly lords in the great world, but no one had ever become the lord of the great world. It was also because he saved the great world that he received special care and recognition from the great world. Otherwise, if you are just a supreme, you will be nothing in the 6th level world. Lin Moyu opened the door of time and space, silently came to the core of the big world, and stepped into the origin. His gaze swept across the world, and he couldn't help but sneered, "This heavenly lord is not very practical." There is still only one divine road in the big world, and it is the one you build yourself. This divine path leads directly to the origin of the world. Those who can achieve supreme status through this divine path are stronger than other divine paths. Now, it is the only way to protect God. Normally, Tianzuan has the ability to build a divine road, and the big world now has enough resources, but that Tianzuan did not do so. Lin Moyu came to the source and whispered, "Let me see what you have done." He communicated with the origin of the big world and wanted to know what happened in the world during this period of time. The origin of the world felt Lin Moyu, showing a cheerful atmosphere. Lin Moyu knew that he was the only one recognized by the Great World Origin. If it were someone else, the Great World Origin would not be so polite. Through the origin of the big world, Lin Moyu finally saw the newly promoted Tianzuan. He is a very handsome young man. It seems that he has not been practicing for a long time. He is obviously a genius. However, his eyes were a little gloomy, and he seemed to have a lot of thoughts, which Lin Moyu didn't like. It's not that I don't like his gloominess, but the depth of his eyes reveals the same malice. Lin Moshi's soul is extremely sharp, especially in the big world. This sensitivity has reached the extreme. Lin Moyu can know the general situation of this person without any contact. Lin Moyu learned that the name of this newly promoted Tianzuan was Shiding Tian, and he could only cultivate 10,000 tuku. When he went to Jiahailing, Shiding Genius had just entered the supreme realm. More than 5,000 years later, he is transformed from a supreme being to a heavenly being. This talent can be said to be quite amazing. Shiding Tian came to the origin of the world with a strong attitude and wanted to become the master of the world, but was ruthlessly rejected by the origin of the world. The Great World Origin does not recognize him at all. A mere low-level heavenly lord is nothing at all. Shiding Tian seemed to know that he couldn't offend the origin of the world, so he didn't force it. But it can be seen from his gloomy eyes that he is not reconciled. Lin Moyu said softly, "Although my talent is good, my mind is not pure." This kind of person will do anything for the sake of his own cultivation path. He followed the ruthless path, which was different from Lin Moyu's path. Lin Moyu observed Shiding Tian's life through the origin of the world. Since childhood, Shiding Tian has shown a strong talent for cultivation, but also revealed his selfish character. Once during an adventure, he watched his companion die with his own eyes, but did not save him even though he was capable, just because of his companion's magic weapon. There was once someone who liked him, but in the end, for the sake of his own path, he would rather give the person he liked as a gift. A lot of similar things happened. Lin Moyu realized something was wrong with the human emperor. In the 5,000 years since I left, many changes have taken place in the big world. When a low-level heavenly lord like Ding Tian appeared, it was just one of them. There was also a bigger thing. The human emperor had lost control of the big world. Lin Moyu felt strange that he had clearly given the human emperor 2 low-level resurrected heavenly lords. Why would it still be like this? If the human emperor could still control the human race, it would be difficult for many bloody things to happen. Lin Moyu checked the situation about the human emperor again, and there was indeed something wrong with Pingho. The next second, Lin Moyu left the origin of the big world and appeared directly in the core area where the human emperor was. There is not only the human emperor here, but also many human race supremes. Lin Moyu knows most of these supreme beings. They are all old people who have participated in the war of hundreds of tribes. These old people were once all from the other side, and later became saints, and now most of them have become supreme beings. Unfortunately, due to the circumstances of that era, they took the wrong path. After reaching the supreme realm, it was difficult to move forward. With good luck and talent, I reached the highest level. Those who were unlucky ended up at the low-level supreme level. They gathered together like a battle formation to protect the human emperor. With their strength, they should not be able to defend it. Fortunately, they still have some descendants. These descendants have good talents and have not taken the wrong path. They still have opportunities. Lin Moyu has seen several peak Supremes with solid foundations and is expected to break through to Supreme Supremes. The human emperor was indeed injured. He used to be like a star, guarding here and guarding the entire human race for 100,000 years. But now, his light is no longer bright, and even a little dim. 1/3 of the star was broken into pieces and nearly collapsed. The human emperor's body has been damaged, causing the human emperor network to be seriously damaged. The power of the personnel network is already very weak. Lin Moyu had murderous intent rising in his eyes. It is unforgivable to attack the human emperor who has protected the human race for more than 100,000 years. Lin Moyu revealed his figure, and his appearance immediately aroused the vigilance of everyone present. Someone recognized Lin Moyu and immediately exclaimed, "It's Lin Jizuan. Lin Jizuan is back. Lin Jizuan is back." The sound was louder and louder, echoing in the starry sky. Lin Moyu's return seems to be a stimulant shot into everyone's soul. Especially those who have fought alongside Lin Moyu have blind confidence in Lin Moyu. 0. It seems that as long as Lin Moyu arrives, everything can be solved. Many people heard the sound and flew over and saw the legendary figure Lin Moyu. Many of them are descendants of various supreme families, and they all grew up listening to the legend of Lin Moyu. Now I finally saw the real person, but after seeing the real person, I couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Lin Moyu is still the peak supreme. They know how big the gap is between the supreme and the heavenly supreme. No matter how powerful the peak supreme is, he is only a supreme, and cannot be compared with the heavenly lord at all. Owner. With a cry of surprise, Xiao Wu flew over like a bolt of lightning and directly landed on Lin Moyu. After not seeing each other for many years, Xiao Wu is still the same Xiao Wu. Her personality and appearance have not changed, only her state has changed. Xiao Wu has reached the pinnacle of supreme being, and purely from a realm perspective, he is no worse than himself. After Xiao Wu, several old acquaintances rushed over. Lin Moyu bowed slightly to the visitor, Hao Jizuan, Tian Jizuan, Zhan Jizuan. Several veteran saints in the past have now become supreme beings. It's just that it's difficult for them to improve their cultivation. Only Tian Jizuan and Hao Jizuan have become high-level supremes. For example, Zhan Jizuan and others can only reach the middle level of supreme and find it difficult to move forward. Seeing that all the old acquaintances were still there, the murderous intention in Lin Moyu's heart also subsided a lot. Hao Jizuan came to Lin Moyu, relaxed his frown and showed a rare smile. "Just come back, just come back." Tian Jizuan was slightly excited. "I've finally waited for you." In their eyes, as long as Lin Moyu comes back, any trouble can be solved. Lin Moyu whispered, "Tell me, what happened to the group?" A lot of things have happened to the human race in the big world in recent years. Because the origin is restored, all things evolve, geniuses emerge endlessly, and the big world ushered in a prosperous age. Due to inherent reasons, the older generation is gradually falling behind and unable to keep up with the times. The new generation has risen rapidly, and its strength has begun to surpass that of the older generation, becoming the new mainstay. When you have strength, you want to have greater power. This kind of thing has already begun to appear thousands of years ago. But at that time, Lin Moyu, the great god, was still there, so those people didn't dare to mess with the bed no matter what their intentions were. At that time, the old and new forces could still maintain a certain balance. Lin Moyu handed over the resurrected two low-level Tianzuan to the human emperor and maintained this balance for thousands of years. It was not until the last 1,000 years or so that a heavenly lord was born among the new forces, and peace was completely broken. The new forces have become stronger, and they want greater power, especially if they want the emperor to give up the management of the entire human race. The number of people managed by the human emperor has exceeded 310 for more than 100,000 years, and it has become the foundation of the human race, and this cannot be changed. A fierce conflict naturally breaks out between the two sides. Fortunately, there are geniuses in the old power family, and the resurrectors left by Lin Moyu can still fight against them. The strength of the two resurrected people is greater than that of the new forces Tianzuan. Later they discovered that it was the human emperor who controlled the two heavenly lords, and the human emperor was only half-step supreme. In a sneak attack, the human emperor was seriously injured and fell into a deep sleep. The two Tianzuan realm resurrected people were unattended and there was no movement. The order Lin Moyu gave them at that time was to let them obey the emperor's command, and others could not command them. Lin Yu could understand the power struggle. Sometimes Lin Moyu feels that some small struggles can stimulate people's motivation and make this world more prosperous. But I didn't expect that things would develop to this point. Fortunately, the human emperor was only seriously injured and fell asleep, and did not really die. Lin Moyu lowered his eyes. I didn't think carefully about this matter. I didn't expect that things would happen to this point. If he had left a few more resurrected people, or allowed the resurrected people to obey the commands of others, this would not have happened. I always thought that the human emperor was capable enough to command the overall situation, but I forgot that he was only half-step to the supreme level. Faced with Tianzuan's sudden attack, he might not even have time to react. I didn't expect that the other party's heavenly lord would be so shameless, and that the dignified heavenly lord would do such a sneaky thing. In addition, there was the Jihai order that kept him away for too long. Otherwise, he would have discovered this situation early on and could have intervened directly. Hao Jizuan said, the power is inferior to others. After all, they already have Tianzuan. We are no match and can only be trapped here. The two people you left behind will still guard the human emperor for the time being, perhaps because of your existence, so they dare not make a fatal move. Lin Moyu's eyes grew cold. Fortunately, it's not too late now. Please give me a list of people who have been involved in this matter over the years, and I will go and have a chat with them. Tian Jizuan raised his eyebrows. What are you going to do? Lin Moyu said, it should be killed, it should be buried. Few words, but ruthless enough. Saint Hao said, the other party is the heavenly lord of the great world. He was not worried that Lin Moyu would not be able to defeat the opponent, but that the opponent was a Tianzuan who was born with great difficulty in the world. It would be a pity to kill him like this. Lin Moyu said coldly, if you raise an unfamiliar dog, why don't you kill it and keep it for the new year? And I want to tell everyone that in this world, no matter what state you reach, you must abide by the rules. Anyone who doesn't obey the rules will be killed. At this moment, Lin Moyu's mentality has changed dramatically. He is no longer the junior who needed help from everyone. Now he is a strong man who saves the world and will become the master of this world in the future. His rules are the rules of this world. After checking the human emperor's injuries, he found that the human emperor's body had suffered some damage. Lin Moyu does not have the ability to repair technological magic weapons. Fortunately, the magic weapon obtained by the human emperor is very powerful and has self-healing properties. He used the power of life to stabilize the human emperor's soul, and then refined several copies of the source for the human emperor to absorb and speed up his recovery. After Lin Moyu's operation, it didn't take long for the emperor to recover. Hao Jizuan prepared the list. Lin Moyu read it over and said in a calm tone, there are quite a lot of people, including 1 Tianzuan, 6 peak supremes, and the high, middle and low-level supremes added together. There were hundreds of people. A total of 32 large families are involved, both from the Sifang Star region and the Divine City Star region. Not bad, quite brave. Tian Jizuan asked, how many are you planning to kill? Lin Moyu said, no one will be left above the supreme. As for these families, there will no longer be a supreme. Either don't do it, or do it more simply, so that there will never be any future troubles. Kill these supremes and seal the path to supreme for these families. In the future, anyone with the bloodline of these 32 families will no longer be able to be promoted to supreme. Lin Moyu has this ability, and the divine path was built by him, so he can naturally control it. This is also done to tell everyone in the entire world that you are all obedient. Lin Moyu looked at Hao Jizuan and others. Senior, do you want to follow me? Hao Jizuan looked at each other and nodded. Okay. Over the years, they have been unable to bear the anger, and now it is time to settle things. At the edge of the Divine City star field, the once empty void now has many stars. These stars have all evolved from the big world in the past tens of thousands of years. The closer you get to the core, the stronger the original power, and the greater the number of evolved resources. Here, hundreds of giant palaces float in the starry sky, forming a triangle shape. The palace at the top is extremely gorgeous and is called the Tianzuan Palace by the world. If you can live in it, you are naturally a Tianzuan. This is the first heavenly deity born in the world since ancient times, and is worshipped and respected by the world. Shi Ding Tian calls himself the Palm Realm Heavenly Lord. The intention of taking this name is obvious. He wants to control the world. Under the Tianzuan Palace is the palace belonging to the Supreme Being. Depending on the level of the realm, the position is also different. These palaces all exude a powerful aura that makes it difficult to look directly at them. Opposite them is the Divine City Star Territory. The formations of the Divine City Star Territory have all been activated, and countless stars are shining brightly. The Red Star Supreme's 10,000 star formation was moved here to defend the Divine City Star Territory. At the same time, Moonnaner's Soul City is also here, and the entire Divine City Star Territory is in a 1.2 defense state. In the current situation in the big world, the old generation of forces represented by the human Emperor Star Elder only have the Divine City Star region left. The Sifong Star Territory has been controlled by 32 families. The current situation is very unfavorable to them. Even if they use all their strength, it will be difficult to stop the Heavenly Master. If it weren't for the fear of Lin Moyu, who had disappeared for many years, the newly promoted Tianzuan might have killed Xing Lao and the others. Lin Moyu, Hao Jizuan and others came here, and Lin Moyu met Xing Lao and others. Xing Lao, you're fine. Lin Moyu said with a smile. Xing Lao looked unhappy. You are finally back, kid. Where have you been? You have been gone for so many years, and I can't even catch fish. Lin Moyu smiled and said, after today, Chen can continue to go fishing with peace of mind. Xing Lao snorted softly, I hope so. Moonnaner revealed her figure, are you sure? Lin Moyu chuckled and said, not just Tianzuan. Hundreds of gorgeous palaces of different sizes are like a huge army, oppressing the Divine City Star Territory. Although the Divine City Star Territory is large, it is not as good as these palaces in terms of momentum and strength. As if sitting in the Tianzuan Hall of the Nine Heavens, Shi Ding Tian suddenly opened his eyes. He felt a strange aura, as if danger was coming. His eyes turned into light and went straight to the origin of the world. Suddenly, he found that he could no longer see the origin of the world. There is a gap between myself and the origin of the world. What happened? Shi Ding Tian thought for a moment and seemed to understand what was going on. There is only one person who has the ability to block the connection between himself and the origin of the big world. He looked through the palace to the Divine City Starfield, and through the star array, he saw Lin Moyu. By chance, he met Lin Moyu. Ever since I was a child, I have grown up listening to the stories of Lin Moyu. In this world, the existence of Lin Moyu is a legend. You are finally back. It seems that you are not doing well in the World Sea. After so long, you are still only the Pinnacle Supreme. You are too anxious. You should have cultivated to the heavenly realm before going to Jiehai. If you take the wrong path, you will pay the price. Sooner or later this world will be mine. You have no chance. Seeing that Lin Moyu was just the Supreme Being, Shi Ding Tian was very calm. He knew very well how big the gap was between the Peak Supreme and the Heavenly Supreme. No matter how powerful Lin Moyu is, he is only the Supreme and cannot possibly defeat himself. Just when Shi Ding Tian looked at Lin Moyu also turned his head and looked over and smiled at Shi Ding Tian. The smile was cold and murderous, making Sir Ding Tian feel hairy all over. "He's coming to kill me." Sir Ding Tian was startled, but immediately shook off his thoughts and laughed at himself for being frightened by a supreme being. He stood up and flew out of the Tianzuan palace, bursting with powerful pressure at the same time. In an instant, all the palaces roared collectively, and one by one the most powerful supreme beings flew out of the palaces. "Sir, what happened?" The supreme beings all asked aloud. Sir Ding Tian would not move easily, and something would happen if he did. Sir Ding Tian looked at the Divine City Star territory. "He's back." "He is back?" All the supreme beings were stunned for a moment, and then suddenly became shocked. They all guessed who the he in Sir Ding Tian's mouth was referring to. Most of them grew up hearing the legend of Lin Moyu, but not many people actually saw Lin Moyu later. Unexpectedly, I can see the legendary character now. Their eyes followed Sir Ding Tian and finally saw the legendary figure. Lin Moyu flew from the Divine City Star territory, alone, neither fast nor slow, and looked very ordinary. The aura on his body is not concealed, and the aura of the Peak Supreme Realm can be seen at a glance. Wearing a plain robe, he looks equally ordinary. Apart from his youth, there is nothing special about him. The same thought came to everyone's mind: seeing is worth hearing 100 times. It's really disappointing that the legendary characters are so ordinary. Is he Lin Moyu? I don't see anything surprising. It's only the pinnacle. People of that generation are really not good. It's too bad. I have been cultivating for so long and still haven't reached the level of Heavenly Lord. It seems that I have no hope of ever reaching Heavenly Lord in this life. It's nothing more than that. Legends are legends, they are exaggerated. Several supreme beings were talking nonsense there, feeling that Lin Moyu was not as powerful as the legend at all, and was not even as powerful as himself. Now that the big world is stable, there are very few supreme beings who are qualified to break the world's barriers and go to the Boundary Sea. Only a few supremes who have been to the Boundary Sea know that the flow of time in Ohai is completely different from that in the big world. Especially Sir Ding Tian, who once left the big world, truly saw the Boundary Sea, and knew that the time ratio between the Boundary Sea and the big world is as high as 10,000 times. Lin Moyu has always been in the Boundary Sea. In fact, it has only been a few years. In such a short period of time, it is almost impossible for Lin Moyu to break through to Tianzuan. Therefore, Sir Ding Tian felt that Lin Moyu was on the wrong path. Lin Moyu should not go to Jiehai so early. He should at least reach the Tianzuan realm before going to Jiehai. But in that case, he would have no chance. Sir Ding Tian looked at Lin Moyu and murmured to himself, "Maybe this is what is destined, Sir Yi, Finchi. The world of Yinfang will belong to me from now on, and the era of yours is over." Lin Moyu came alone and stopped when he was thousands of miles away from Sir Ding Tian. Lin Moyu's voice spread to everyone's ears. "I'll give you two choices. One is to abandon your cultivation and go back to your respective families. The other is I will kill you and return to your families." The voice was crisp and clear, without any emotion. When it fell on these people's ears, they seemed to be hearing a joke. Someone laughed loudly and said, "Haha, are you crazy? Do you know what you are talking about? Although you are very powerful in the legend, no matter how powerful you are only the pinnacle supreme. Facing the Heavenly Lord, you will only die." Legendary characters. Unfortunately, legends are often exaggerated. I guess you are no exception. Some people laughed at Lin Moyu's bold words, while others were excited and ready to take action. Sir Ding Tian said to the people behind him, "You go and kill him." Behind him are 6 peak supreme beings. He decided to try Lin Moyu's strength. After all, he was a legendary figure. He felt that there was nothing wrong with being careful. And Lin Moyu gave him a very dangerous feeling, very dangerous. The 6 peak supremes took orders and flew towards Lin Moyu. They took out their magic weapons one after another, and their powerful aura shook the world. Countless cracks appeared in the starry sky under the aura of the Supreme Being, and the entire starry sky was trembling. Lin Moyu glanced at the starry sky and sighed secretly. Compared with the world sea outside, the space of this world is too fragile. The Supreme Realm can destroy space just by relying on its own aura, and outside, high-level Heavenly Lord can barely create some space cracks. Stronger space means stronger strength and stronger carrying capacity. If a Taoist master came to the great world now, just the aura of the Taoist realm would be enough to completely destroy Area 81 in the heavenly world. The creatures in the big world are really like ants when facing Tao Zun. 6 people appeared in front of Lin Moyu across thousands of miles in an instant. Worlds of rules emerged one by one, and the power of the pinnacle caused the space to collapse. Attack after attack instantly overwhelmed Lin Moyu, the starry sky exploded, and the trap illuminated a large area of the starry sky. Everyone in the Divine City Star territory was sweating for Lin Moyu when they saw this scene. Only Munanair and others believed in Lin Moyu and were not worried at all. But the supreme beings on Sherdingtian's side are incomparable. Die. What kind of legendary figure you are. No matter how strong you are only the supreme. You will die just as much as you deserve to die. Legends are just legends and cannot be taken as true. The legends in the big world end today. Suddenly, their words stopped. Lin Moyu Shiran flew out from the attack, and attacks fell on him one after another. He was like a group of people. A strange avenue wrapped around him, blocking all attacks for Lin Moyu. The brocade-robed Lich was resurrected, protected by the Great Avenue, and attacks from the Supreme Realm were simply ignored. It's okay. Sherdingtian was shocked. Although the attacks of the 6 peak Supreme Beings were not too strong, even he could not accept them so easily. He couldn't see through Lin Moyu's methods for a while. Lin Moyu felt as if he was in a deserted place, a faint light flashed around him, and the star charm flashed past. The next second, the 6 peak Supremes suddenly changed their targets and each shot fiercely at their companions. The 6 peak Supreme Beings suddenly started killing each other. This scene shocked everyone. Sherdingtian felt chilled again, and he still couldn't understand Lin Moyu's methods. Lin Moyu completely ignored the 6 people who were killing each other and looked at Sherdingtian with a smile. Don't you understand? It doesn't matter. I'll give you another chance. At this time, there were stars blooming around Lin Moyu. The starlight was extremely beautiful and dreamlike. The Star Charm Lich used his own spell, Star Charm. In an instant, the hundreds of supreme beings behind Sherdingtian froze at the same time, and their eyes became blurred. The next second, they suddenly took action and launched a fierce attack on the nearest supreme one. A big melee broke out in the starry sky, and all the Supremes were like crazy, attacking their companions crazily. No matter how good the relationship was in the past, they are now like life and death enemies, showing no mercy. To deal with these people who can't even reach the level of Heavenly Lord, Star Charm Lich doesn't even need to use the Avenue of Illusion. Star Charm is enough. Influencing hundreds of supreme beings at the same time, controlling their souls, and creating illusions is no difficulty for the Star Charm Lich. Sherdingtian's chill has spread from the depths of his soul to every corner of his body. He suddenly realized that he didn't understand Lin Moyu at all. This man, who seemed to be at his peak, had terrifying methods that far exceeded his imagination. Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Are you scared? Where are you now? Why are you so scared? You are a Heavenly Lord, how can you be afraid of me, the Supreme Lord?" Lin Moyu seemed to remind him kindly, but every word and every sentence fell into Sherdingtian's ears, but he felt something else. He was indeed a little scared, and even acted a little. But he also knew that he was the Heavenly Lord and Lin Moyu was just the Supreme Lord. If he suddenly took action, he might have a chance. Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Why, you want to launch a surprise attack on me, just like you did against the human emperor?" In one sentence, Sherdingtian's thoughts were completely destroyed. Lin Moyu smiled and said, "You can try, maybe you really have a chance. After all, You are the Heavenly Lord, and I am just the Supreme Lord. Shi Dingtian's whole body trembled slightly, and in his senses, Lin Moyu became extremely terrifying. This kind of person cannot be dealt with by oneself. His eyes were full of gloom, and he was thinking about how to deal with Lin Moyu. He didn't feel anything about his men who were killing each other. If those guys die, let them die. The key is how to survive, or even how to kill Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu sighed. It seems that I still think highly of you. How can a guy like you, who is selfish and can give his beloved woman away, have such courage? Shi Dingtian trembled all over, as if his face had been slapped hard, and he blurted out, "What nonsense are you talking about?" Lin Moyu smiled and said, "No need to deny it, you know what I'm talking about." Shi Dingtian looked like a hairless hedgehog at this moment, with the energy all over his body surging wildly. The aura of the Tianzuan realm was as deep as the sea, and the starry sky completely collapsed. Several supreme beings not far away were directly rolled into powder by his aura. He was completely angry, and Lin Moyu opened the only fig leaf deep in his heart without regret. Lin Moyu had the protection of the lichen brocade, and still ignored the impact of his aura. Are you finally angry? You haven't been angry many times in your life. Counting this time, it shouldn't be more than 5 times. Shi Dingtian's voice was cold. You are deliberately irritating me. Lin Moyu nodded. Yes, I did it on purpose. I wanted to see how fishy you, the Heavenly Lord of the big world, are. It's a pity that you are too weak. You are the weakest of the Tianzans I have killed. Shi Dingtian hesitated for a moment. He was sure that he heard correctly. Lin Moyu actually said that he was the weakest among the Tianzans he had ever killed. Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Don't believe it. It doesn't matter, you will understand." As he spoke, Lin Moyu snapped his fingers, a ball of immortal flames exploded, and the skeleton throne emerged from the flames. A skeleton king stood up slowly, exuding the aura of a low-level heavenly lord, which was no weaker than Shi Dingtian. Shi Dingtian is staring at the skeleton king. Is this your trump card? Lin Moyu smiled softly. The trump card is not worth it, and you are not worthy of me using my trump card. The skeleton king suddenly swung his bone sword and slashed it towards Shi Dingtian. Technique, bone-killing god. A regular world full of white bones rose from behind the skeleton king. The bones inside were like a sea, and countless white bones turned into sharp swords, and with this sword, they slashed towards Shi Dingtian. In an instant, Shi Dingtian's hair stood on end as a danger exploded from the depths of his soul. Shi Dingtian quickly retreated, trying to pass Wang's sword. Lin Moyu shook his head. It's useless, you can't avoid this sword. The Bone Slayer god cannot dodge and can only bear it. At the same time, he ignored most of the defensive magic weapons. What's more, Shi Dingtian didn't have any defensive magic weapons. Lin Moyu was right. Shi Dingtian was the weakest deity he had ever seen, bar none. The heavenly lords of the origin continent more or less have some magic weapons to protect themselves. But when Shi Dingtian became a deity in the big world, he didn't even have a magic weapon, which was pitiful. As a low-level Tianzuan, Lin Moyu only needs one skeleton king to completely torture him. The sword light lit up, and Shi Dingtian suddenly screamed. A cloud of blood mist exploded from his chest, and a hole appeared from front to back. At the same time, there were countless wounds all over his body, from head to toe. His physical body was seriously injured by the sword of the skeleton king, and his soul was injured by the law of bones. The physical body truthfully reflected the condition of the soul. With just one strike, Shi Dingtian was seriously injured. If he struck again, he would probably die on the spot. At this moment, Shi Dingtian saw a large number of dead souls. The panic in his heart rose to an unprecedented level. How can he be so strong? He is obviously just the pinnacle supreme. How can he be so strong? I am no match for him. Run away. You must run away. If you don't run away, you will definitely die. In the world of rules, infinite power pours into oneself, stimulating potential and recovering from injuries. Lin Moyu's voice came. You want to escape now, right? But I don't think you have this chance. His voice sounded like a devil's whisper in Shi Dingtian's ears, so terrifying. No matter what Lin Moyu said, he turned around and wanted to run away. But suddenly, he felt the origin of the great world coming, and at the same time he lost control of his soul. The origin of the big world appears in sight, and his power is rapidly weakening. The origin of the great world is taking back the power of his origin, and his realm is falling from the Tianzuan realm. His ability to become a heavenly lord relies on the origin of the great world, and he has walked on the divine path, with good money, which is the divine path constructed by Lin Moyu. Whether it is the origin of the big world or the divine path, Silent Words has great authority. At this moment, Lin Moyu wants to take back his power. Shi Dingtian shouted in horror, "What did you do? Why did this happen?" Lin Moyu said softly, "I just take back what doesn't belong to you." Shi Dingtian's aura gradually became weaker, and he felt that he was about to fall from the throne of heaven and return to the Supreme Being. Fear overcame other emotions, and he begged Lin Moyu for mercy. "Lin Jizuan, please spare me. I will listen to you in everything from now on, and I will consider myself your most loyal subordinate. I apologize for the wrong things I did before. I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please forgive me." Lin Moyu sighed softly. "What's the use of keeping a spineless deity like you? And do you know what your biggest mistake is? Your biggest mistake is that you should not take action against the human emperor. For this alone, you, including all the supremes in the 32 families, deserve to die."